And hello all friends, with you is a potato, and this is a complete guide to the botany fashion for version 1.16.5. But before you start watching, be sure to subscribe to me and click on the bell so as not to miss new videos. But we're getting started. This mod is magical, and natural magic is added here. The magic of plants. Here you can create mana with the help of ordinary flowers, collected in all sorts of pools, make creating flowers. Craft various weapons, armor, tools, and much more. As it was already clear from this mod is suitable for almost any magic assembly. Well, let's start with generation. Only various plants are added to our world. That is, walking around the world, you will not be able to find any structures there, any other mines and even worlds. You will be able to find only such different flowers. In total, they have as many as 16 colors, respectively, as in Minecraft. That is, white, orange, blue, red there, blue, some other purple and so on. And right away I will tell you that they will need to be collected from the very beginning of the game, because you will need them in almost all crafts in this mod. And by the way, you can see their elaboration. First of all, they have such particles, and from each flower come the corresponding particles of their colors. And also, their textures are different for each flower. That is, let's say white, there are such bells, orange is generally some kind of incomprehensible bush. Here we have a blue one here, it's generally some kind of circle that's so interesting. Let's say a brown tulip is pink. Well, in general, such flowers. And you can also find a large variation of them in the world, but if you break them with an ordinary hand, then you will not succeed. They will need to be broken only with scissors or something similar. And then, by the way, they will turn out to be twice as many objects, namely petal ones. But we'll talk about this a little later. And in the mines, you can find 16 types of such mushrooms. And when you break them, you can already use them instead of petals. In other words, they are the least profitable for us, but still, they can also be used in crafting. And again, as with colors, there are a variety of variations of them here. That is, let's say white again, we have purple, so we have an interesting mushroom. It's generally some kind of green fly agaric, and so on. But now let's get to the basics of this mod. First of all, I advise you to make such a book as the Lexicon of Botany. It is made from any seedling and also a book. We're taking it. By the way, I have such a golden book, it is more elaborated, but here, as you can see, the textures are broken. Therefore, I would rather use a beautiful golden book like this. You will be able to get it a little later as you develop. Well, when you open this book, almost all sections here will be blocked, with the exception of probably this very first basics and mechanics. And in it too, not all studies will be unlocked here, but as they develop, they will naturally be unlocked. But in Argay, I did everything consistently, so there will be no problems. In general, as you can understand, in this book, we describe absolutely all subjects. Not always in Russian, there are also all sorts of English writings and also the title. And for this just the same, I made a guide so that there would be no problems. But let's take a short walk here. We have the basics of mana control mechanics. This way, we will be able to move mana and do various interactions with it oddly enough. Then the generating flora is the mana creating flowers. There is also a functioning flora. These are flowers that will feed on mana and do something. Then there are natural devices. These are various, as you can understand, devices that will function quite cool. Mystical objects are all kinds of wands, all kinds of tools and the like. Then trinkets and accessories. We have various rings that will also function, as well as all sorts of cloaks and the like. Artifacts of the Ender world. Oddly enough, these artifacts are related to the Ender world, which you can get there. They also have their own properties. Then there is Elfomania. Here you can discover various studies of elves. There is a miscellaneous section, and also a test. It's just essentially creating farms based on this mod. But now let's sort everything out in order. First of all, we will need to sort out our colors, because as I said, this is absolutely the basis of this fashion. You will need a huge amount of them. There is such a flower fertilizer. With the help of it, you can grow flowers. It is made from 4 dyes, and also bone meal. We take it, and let's see what it does. It's just that such PCM on the grass, and we grow flowers. Now, 3 pieces have grown. Here we also have 3 pieces grown, an absolutely random color. That is, in this way you will be able to craft this thing, and let's say, get the missing flower for yourself in this way. Then, there is such a flower bag. It is a very useful thing for storing flowers. It is made of 5 wool, and also any petal or mushroom. Like I said, it's the same thing. Speaking of petals, from ordinary flowers, you get 2 petals. From such double ones you get 4. Let's take it and see how it works. Let's say we have a mystical black flower, then some green, blue, and let's say purple. We open the bag, and now we can just put these flowers in it. Here we can fit, in my opinion, up to a stack. And also, 16 of their varieties. There is also such a useful device, a pestle and mortar. It is made from a bowl, a board, and also a stick. With it, we will be able to grind the petals. Let's say I take the white ones now. And now, we combine the whole thing with workbenches and get a white duh. Well, in principle, these are all its properties. Well, another thing worth mentioning is that you can make blocks out of petals. Let's say here's orange, here I'm showing you purple and also red. We make them from 9 pieces of petals, and it looks like this. It's pretty beautiful, and they don't have any function. Then we move on to the first main device. This is a petal apothecary. It is made of 4 cobblestones, 2 slabs of cobblestone, and also any petal. We take it, for its work, we will need a bucket of water, and also in it, we will be able to create different flowers already. Let's see which ones again. Let's say the generating flora, and that's all we have that is shown here. We can do in our petal apothecary. Here you can see. But now, we are going to make the very first flower, the simplest one. By the way, we even have it in the basics and mechanics. Here it is a pure daisy, and to create it, we will need only 4 white petals. Let's put our petal apothecary. It looks like this. Quite a beautiful little pedestal like this, and there is a jug on top, or a bowl, whatever you want to call it. In general, we pour 1 bucket of water into it. That will be enough. And then we throw our white petals there. 1, 2. You can see we also have such a small interface. Well, that is, to show how many petals there are. And also you can see that there they are floating a little bit. Then, we throw 3, and finally 4. Nothing falls out. See, it is shown to us, plus a seed. We're throwing a wheat seed here now, and that's it. The water was gone, all the petals were gone too, and we got a clean daisy like this. We can pour water here again, and make some other flower, let's say. But for now, let's move on to this flower. This flower will allow us to process stone and also wood. Absolutely any tree. Let's put this flower, and see it has a radius of work. By the way, he does not feed on mana in any way. That is, he is absolutely infinite. And the zone of his work is the next radius of 1 block. That is, here, 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 here. By the way, it will not work from above. We could see now that all sorts of particles are appearing, which means that he is starting to process this flower. But let's now put 4 more boards, for example, and here are 4 stones. More precisely, 4 woods. And let's see what happens after a while. And now you can see that our blocks are beginning to transform. A tree turns into a tree's life, and a stone turns into a stone's life. And these are the most basic resources that will be needed for development in this fashion. You mine them, put them here again, let's say a tree and a stone in any order, and again this daisy will make these blocks for you, and so on endlessly. Let's take another look at their textures. This is the life of a tree, and this is the life of a stone. Quite beautiful, as if marble by the way. And from them, you will be able to make the most basic devices for yourself. First of all, it is a staff of wood. It is made of 3 branches of the tree's life, and also 2 petals. A tree life branch is made of 2 tree lives. It has 2 modes, it is functional, and also binding mode. The binding mode is designed to bind, let's say, a mana distributor to a mana pool, in order to transfer mana from the distributor to the mana pool. That's it, yes. And functioning, let's say in order to activate something. Well, in general, this is probably all of its properties. Then, you can make a pool of mana, or a diluted pool of mana. They differ in that a diluted pool of mana will contain as much as 100 times less than a normal pool of mana. But, I advise you to do it right away, with a regular pool of mana, because their crafting is almost the same. Let's take a look at it now. An ordinary pool is made of 5 stone lives, and a diluted one is made of a half block in the life of a stone. As you can understand, it is much more profitable to make a regular pool of mana. Let's take him and just see what he looks like. It looks like this, as if carved by some kind of life stone. And in principle, we can't do anything with him right now, but I'm going to leave it here, in order to conduct various experiments with him in the future. And finally, the last main devices are the mana distributor, and also the red mana distributor. They differ in that the mana distributor will work just like that, always, but red from the signal of the red stone. We probably won't even consider it, because it works the same way as a regular mana distributor. By the way, it is made from the 6 lives of a tree, a gold ingot, and also any petal. Let's take an ordinary mana distributor, and put it somewhere here, let's say. And now, if mana flows into it, by the way, we can also take the staff of the forest, visit it, and see how much mana is in it. Now you can see that the scale is not filled. It means that there is no mana in it. And it is also written at the bottom that we have it tied to the mana pool. By the way, let's see how to bind for now. Press shift with PCM in binding mode. Here, we have once, you can see the allocation and also the shift of the PCM by the mana pool. In this way, this distributor is slightly tilted, as you can see, and is more accurately directed at this pool of mana. And thus it will be possible to transfer the mana here literally through the air with such shots. By the way, we will see this a little later. By the way, who hasn't figured it out yet, the mana pool is a storage for mana. By the way, it is also very important that distributors also have their own range. We take the staff of the forest with you and see such visualizations of how mana will fly. At the end, you can see such a point, and after this point, this ray narrows very, very much, and eventually even disappears. This means that after this point, mana will simply dissipate very much, and there will be just incredible losses. And in the end, it will just disappear into the air. In the future, we will be able to adjust this a little bit, put different lenses, but we will talk about this a little later. The main thing now is that you know how many blocks we have here, probably 15 or so, maybe 12, and after that, we will simply have mana dissipated. Then, we finally move on to creating our first mana. Why we will create it, I will tell you a little later. Now the main thing is to learn how to create it. First of all, we have a flower called water hydrangea. We make it from 2 blue petals, 2 turquoise petals, and as a catalyst, we eventually throw wheat seeds. Let me take it all now. Also, by the way, I take a bucket of water and half blocks to show how to install this hydrangea water. Meanwhile, let's throw 2 blue and 2 turquoise petals, and finally throw wheat seeds as a catalyst. As a result, we get water hydrangea. In general, we will put any flowers that create around the distributor in a small radius of 7. Next, we take and look at our binding staff, the staff of the forest, more precisely, on the binding, and click the Shift plus PCM about hydrangeas and the Shift plus PCM according to the distributor. So we have all this connected, and when we hover over this flower, you can see a tick next to the distributor. It means that everything is tied. And by the way, hydrangea water also has its own small buffer for mana. And what should be done so that it generates mana? In general, it will generate simply from water. Look, let's put water here. She's supposed to disappear from us now, in theory. Come on. By the way, to check how much mana we have hydrangea water, you just need to poke the PCM on it, and I, more precisely, need to put it a little differently. Let's move the water here like this. Now we poke the PC with our staff of the hydrangea forest, and it creates a small amount of mana for us. You can see that the water has already disappeared. The mana here has already gone here, and here, we also have a very small amount of mana. But it is very unprofitable to poke a bucket of water here every time. And what should be done, so that there is endless water here? To do this, let's do the following. That's how we'll put a half block here. As a result, here we get a 3x3 tank for water. We fill in everything here, and first of all, we have a hydrangea water that will be fed endlessly from this source. So the company PCM. Here, we have something being created. Here we also have a small amount of mana. Now, we will see a little bit how it will all be transmitted. But for now, let's put even more hydrangea water here. We'll put it here, and also tie it. Then, here, it is already linked, and here it is also automatically linked. Now we poke the PCM at the mana distributor to update its buffer, and now it will already shoot mana. Well, look here. A shot of mana, and it goes straight into our pool. The pool fills up just a little bit. It's incredibly huge, but still this method is quite effective, even in the later stages. If you have a special seed growth, so that in the end, these flowers are not sluggish because they will simply disappear over time, and you will need to create new ones every time. But with the help of the seed of overgrowth, which we will consider a little later, all this can be prevented. Then, another very cool way to create mana is end of flame. It used to be called somehow the flame of the end or the flame of the edge. Yes, in my opinion the flame of the edge was called, but now for some reason they changed the name, but the functionality remained the same. And look, to create it, we will need 1 red petal, 2 brown, and also 1 light gray petal. We take it all, just as catalysts naturally take wheat seeds and coal to power this flower. So we throw here 1 red, 2 brown, and a light gray. As a result, the catalyst, we get an endo flame, and put it, let's say, somewhere there. We have already attached him right away, and now we throw 1 coal here, and we will already have him creating a pretty good amount of mana. Look at the coal he ate. Here we have effects, and mana also went to be created, and very well. You can make more of these flowers. Throw it over the coals like this. By the way, we can also make such an automatic plant for feeding coals with the help of a pressure plate. And also let's assume a distributor, so that the coal is always thrown. And now you can see that even such an endless stream of mana has formed, which goes on and on into our storage. Next, let's look at such a steep growth path. You can't craft it in any way, but you can find it in various dungeons. He has this very interesting animation. Here you could see that it was big with us. Now it has become small again, now it will grow again, so to speak. And yes, the process has begun. In short, you will never craft it in any way. You can only find it in the dungeons. I'll take it, and also here's the hydrangea water, but we already have it, so okay. And we just put it on this grass here, which brings hydrangeas. It changes in texture, it becomes so very beautiful. And so we have passive flowers. This is our passive flower. They will never wither, but the active ones will work twice as fast. But in this case, as I said, we have passive flowers, because they passively generate mana from water. Let's put all of them here, and now, it will be considered that there is an infinite source of mana, because they will never wither. We will also never run out of water here, and therefore, it is an absolutely infinite source of mana, and a pretty good one at that. If you put a lot of colors like this, a lot of such blocks, then a decent source of mana will really come out. By the way, also about the Danga drops. You will be able to find such a black lotus. It emits strong magical vibrations. We can throw it into the pool, and look, it transfers the mana that it contained into the pool, and a pretty good amount. You can see even a little bit of our stripe has started to fill up. Now let's look at where we can apply our mana. First of all, you will be able to create some items for subsequent crafting from them. You can remake with iron, ender pearls, diamonds, gunpowder, Ristune light dust. Let's say you get the same thing, Nezarkvart, glass, thread, even potatoes, cookies, a bottle, a piston, an iron block, a diamond block, grass, a dead bush, and also a red mushroom. Let's take a quick look at what we will get in the end. And by the way, how to do it all. We just approach our mana pool and throw here, let's say 1 iron ingot. So we threw out, we got a monostal ingot. We throw pearls here, we get mana pearls, a diamond, we get a mana diamond. Gunpowder is either a diet or a light stone, we get mono gunpowder. On Zarquartz, we get mana quartz, glass mana glass. Thread, we get a mono thread, oddly enough. Potatoes, there will be no mana potatoes here. By the way, what we don't redo, and we don't have enough mana in the process. So let's take this eternally filled creative pool and throw potatoes into it already. And so we get mini potatoes. This is probably the best thing about this fashion. Here it is, look how handsome, just like me, but agree. And there is also such an Easter egg here. You can take another mini potato and put it on this potato. This way, you will even get an achievement, and there will be another mini potato on top. So well, then it's not so interesting. Cookies, get mana cookies. Bottle, get mana in a bottle. Piston, we get such a power relay, which we will consider a little later. Iron, we get a block of iron mana. We throw a block of diamonds, we get a block of man diamonds. By the way, let's say we have come to craft much cheaper than we are diamonds, so it's worth considering. You just might not have enough mana. The penultimate one throws grass, we get a meadow seed, a dead bush, we get a taiga seed, and finally, we throw a red mushroom. We get a mushroom seed like this. Let's look at another device that will allow you to store mana, but already portable in your inventory. It will be a mana tablet. He makes a stone out of 8 lives and also either a pearl mana or a diamond moan. We're taking it. Also, we will need some stronger, and let's take a better thing filled with another one, put it here and see how to charge it. We just throw it here, then nothing will happen. It won't charge in any way. It will be necessary to switch the mode here. We make a functional mode with you on our post and poke the PCM shift. You can see that the arrow has changed, so our pool will give the tablet to mana. Now we throw a mana tablet here, and we will have it a little bit so charged. Well, let's pick it up. And now you can see there a little bit he went charging. What is it for? First of all, for transporting mana, and also let's say you will have such staffs that will work for mana. And where to get mana? Naturally, it will be necessary to somehow transfer it in the inventory. Just the same with the help of this method. By the way, when you have it in your inventory, you can see such a stripe appears from the bottom above the move bar. This is just the same stripe, shows how much mana we have in our inventory at all. Well, in principle, this is all its functionality. To let's say, we transfer mana from our tablet to the pool, we make an arrow to the right so that she looks at the pool, and throw the tablet here. Thus, mana simply flows into the pool, and you can see that it is growing very rapidly there. And let's look at such a pretty useful flower. This is the mana star. It is made from 1 mystical blue petal, turquoise, red and also green. Again, we just throw all these petals, 4 pieces in this case, and finally the catalyst, these are ordinary seeds. Then we got this mana star and put it near, let's say, this pool here. And now look, these blue particles are coming out of it. This means that our pool receives mana. And if there are red particles coming out here, let's simulate it now. So I'll take a tablet, let's say, I'll make a different mode here so that it gives mana. And now we are looking. Red particles will come out here. This means that the pool gives mana. By the way, this thing never gives out any kind of signal. That is, it cannot be used in any way in mechanisms. And then let's look at the armor, weapons and tools made of monostal. It is made here in the same way as usual, like all other tools, except that instead of a stick, a branch of the tree's life will be used here. And let's look at its characteristics. Armor 2, Armor 6, 5 and also 2. But look what we have interesting. This is a 10% reduction in mana costs for tools with a full set. That is, let's say you have some staff from this mod that spends manda, and now with full mana, it will be spent 10% less, which is quite nice. The swords also have the following characteristics. Damage 6, pickaxe 4, axe 9, shovel 4.5, and also hoe 1. And by the way, there are scissors. And this is how the monostale armor will look like on us. By the way, it's quite beautiful, Literally, we have some kind of crystals, or what is it? Here on the shoulders and also on the head. Next, we will look at a new device with you. This is a runic altar. It is made of 5 stone lives, and also mana pearls, or diamond mana. We'll take him. We will also need a lot of mana, a mana distributor. And what can we do at all on this runic altar? As we can understand from the name, we will be able to make runes on it. And where can we see all this? We take a book with you, oddly enough. We go to the section, this is the basics of mechanics for us. Here is a runic altar, or we put it here. Here it is shown once, and also everything that can be created here. But we have Saruna here. There are 4 main ones that are crafted in the usual ways, that is, nothing like that is needed here, and for the other 12 runes. The remaining 12 will also need elementary runes. Elementary it is water, fire, earth, and also air. Let's create at least some rune with you. I will take the mana powder, and we will merge bone meal, sugar cane, and also a fishing rod. And we will also need a stone, and a staff of the forest, as a catalyst for life, to activate the whole thing. First of all, it will be necessary to put a runic altar, let's say somewhere, let's do it here. Then let's say here, I want to put a mana pool like this, and I will install a mana distributor near it. And how do we direct an incomprehensible mana distributor to this altar in such a diagonal? We just take the staff of the forest with you, the binding mode, the chief will calm down here, and the chief will calm down here. And in this way, mana will be transferred here. Look, everything has turned out so well here, everything is clear, and mana will fly right here. And by the way, in order to feed mana to our distributor here, you don't even need to do anything, because this mana pool is located right next to these distributors, and thus immediately transfers everything to it. In fact, all the preparations have been completed. Now it remains only to spread the craft here. In this case, I'm kind of going to craft a water rune or something. What is it called? Let me take another look. That's right, it will be a rune of water. Here, you will need once again, an ingot of monostil, bone meal, sugar cane with a fishing rod, also mono powder. And here we also show mana in our usual pool of mana in X10, that is for 10 runes, namely for 20. That is 10 crafts. But if we hover over this scale, it will show how much mana will be needed for 1 rune, that is, for 1 craft. But in this case, it will be very difficult to compare and generally understand how much mana it is, because you can see that it will be almost the same everywhere. Although here about X10, and here at X10, the difference is visible, and if we visit, then there is practically none. Well, in short, I think that you understand about what such a scale is shown there in X10. And now let's finally do this crafting. To do this, I will take all the items that I voiced earlier. Here I put it here. Here, by the way, look how very beautifully everything levitates here. Just really worked out with a sugar rope. Finally, a fishing rod. That's it. Look, mana starts flowing here, and crafting begins. You can see such a circular stripe, and it begins to fill up as mana enters here. You could see that a fairly large amount of mana would be needed here, and therefore, immediately take care to do if as much as possible. Let's say there are such endo flames in such water hydrangeas. Meanwhile, man has already flowed everything here, and has not crafted anything, although there is a tick. What should we do next? Then you will need to take the next stone of life, throw it on the altar, and poke the PCM with the staff of the forest. And we get our runes in the amount of 2 pieces. 2 runes of water. Other runes will be crafted in exactly the same way. That is, in our case, it will be a rune for lights, air, and also earth. But the rest of the runes, let's say spring, look, it will have to be much more complicated here. This is the rune of water. The rune of fire is used here, and all the subsequent runes are also quite complex. But let's still see what kind of runes this is. This is the rune of spring, summer, autumn, and also winter, oddly enough. Then, there is the rune of mana, the rune of lust, the rune of gluttony, greed, laziness, anger, envy, and finally, pride. You will need them all for crafting some artifacts and other things in botany. It can be said that the basis of any subject at all is so advanced. Next, let's look at the transfer of mana, quite convenient, with the help of sparks. A spark is made of 2 fire powders, any 2 petals, and also a piece of gold. Let's take a spark, and also, an eternal pool of mana, let's say also an ordinary pool of mana. And with the help of these sparks, as I said, you will be able to transfer mana, and quite quickly. Let's put eternally filled ones here, and let's assume a pool of mana here. Now we put sparks over them. 1 spark, and also 2 sparks. But no, by the way, a small mistake. In this case, we will not be able to transmit anything here, because we will need special improvements, which we will talk about later. Well, now with the help of these sparks, you can make, let's say, a transfer with some kind of creation. That is, you put a spark over the pool, and then, some kind of creating object. Let's say when creating a terrastale, I'll show you how to do it. Next, let's look at these soaring various islands with flowers. Look, we have such a floating white flower, you can make it. It is made from earth, meadow seed, and also any glowing flower. And a glowing flower is made from any mystical flower, and also 2 lightstone dust. We take this, we also take some flour that we want to make so that it floats on the island. I'll tell you why later. Then, we go to the workbench and connect a floating white flower, let's say, and also a clean daisy. And we get a floating clean daisy. This is considered to be the same as an ordinary flower, only such textures are here and you can set them in the air, which is very convenient, on top of each other. This way, you can literally make small factories like this to create, let's say, the life of a tree or the life of a stone in this case. Because on these islands, you can stuff absolutely any flower from this mod. Well, let's say you can stuff some or flower on it, which is a very cool flower, only very expensive. Then we finally move on to the really interesting. Suddenly here you will need a lot of mana. This is the portal to Elfhelm. To create it, you will need the core of the Elven Gate, 8 tree lives, 3 glowing tree lives, as many as 2 pools with a lot of mana, and 2 natural pylons. The core is made of 6 tree lives, and also 3 such nuggets of terrastale. By the way, first we need to create a terrastal to make these nuggets, which I did not take into account a little, but we will move on to this immediately after considering Elfhelm. The luminous life of a tree is made from the life of a tree, and also lightstone dust, and the natural pylon is made of 3 nuggets of terrastale, the Eye of Ender, and also mana pylons. The mana pylon is made of a moon diamond, 2 golden 6, and also 2 6 of a monostal. Let's take it all, and consider how to build it, and how it will all work in general. First, you will need to go to the book. You will have such a section of Elfomania open after creation, and here you click the portal to Elfhelm. Then you scroll through everything here. Here you are shown crafting, and click on the eye preferably, and so you have a visualization here. You poke the cam on the ground, and here you have this visualization installed. You take all the necessary components. This is where we have the core. Here are the blocks of the ordinary life of the tree. Here is also the life of the tree. Here is the luminous life of the tree. Here is another block. And that's what we get. Next, you will need to count 2 blocks from this side, 1, 2, and put a pool of mana on the third. Then, there's also a 1, 2, and there's a pool of mana. Then, here is a natural pylon, and also here is a natural pylon, and basically everything. We can even activate the portal already. To do this, we do what? And the functional mode, and poke at the core. We have it open. Look, here we have a pressure gauge to flow all over these natural pylons like this. Here are such very beautiful effects, and moreover, it will go away very, very quickly. So take this into account, and open this portal when you need it. And what to do with this portal? Let's try to jump it, and no, we can't do anything, because this world simply does not exist. But here we can throw some objects, so that the elves process them for us, and we get some cooler ones. First of all, I advise you to do the following. Take your book lexicon botany, and throw it right into this portal. This way you get the botany lexicon already with the knowledge of elves. You are improving it, and now you have knowledge of the elves in it. That is a new study. Also here you can now process life with wood, monostal ingot, moan mass, nether quartz, mana pearls, and, finally, mana glass. Let's see what we get out of it all. And that's what happened. Firstly, the wood of dreams, then the ingot element. By the way, it is made of 2 ingots. We have arrived. Then, dragon stone, elven quartz, fairy pollen, and also elven glass. This is all you will need for crafting. And an elementium ingot, by the way, you can make yourself a pretty cool armor. She has the following characteristics: armor 2, and also the chance of Pixie 011 appearing. That is, these are such fairies, when you are attacked, they will appear and protect you. Then, armor 6 and 017 chance, armor 5 and 015, and armor 2 and 009. Also, with a full sight, the mana costs for tools will decrease by 10%, and there is still a chance that the pixie will apply the effect of some potion. Let's take this armor now and try it on. And that's how it really looks, very beautiful. Much better than from a monostal, and even more so, from a ringing Minecraft. We literally have some kind of wings on our feet, and also on our hands, and on our head, too, some kind of luntic ears. However, my eyes are closed, which does not allow me to see anything. Of course, we also have weapons and tools. The sword we have has the following characteristics: 1 and 6 speed, 005, the chance of a pixie appearing when someone hits. Well, the rest of the tools have the following characteristics. There are even scissors. And then, let's finally look at the process of creating a terrastale. To do this, we will first need to build a special pedestal, or a place for a ritual, let's say. In short, we will need such a ground agglomeration plate. I do not know what the word agglomeration means, but in general we have such a plate. It is made of 3 lapis lazuli blocks. As a block, we have runes of fire, runes of air, runes of mana, runes of earth, and also runes of water. Quite an expensive thing, but we will need only one such thing, and never again. In principle, it is not necessary to craft it. Then, you will need 5 stone lives, and 4 lapis lazuli blocks. And also, to create 1 bar of terrastale, you will need 1 mana pearl, 1 bar of monastale, and 1 moan diamond. But that's not all. You will need just a huge amount of mana, unrealistically large. Let's take this cool elven mana distributor for myself to create this terrastale so that the whole thing works faster. And we'll look at it a little later. And also another spark, just to show how it will work. And of course, we will need some kind of endless supply of mana, otherwise I just don't have so much mana here right now. First of all, we open the book, go into the basics of mechanics, and here is Iris Steel. Here we show the craft, go to the next page, click on the This is exactly what our pedestal is for creating. Let's do it better somewhere at ground level. Let's say here, I press the PCM, and here the visualization has started. We take with you all the necessary items of life here, here, and here, lapis lazuli blocks, and finally, here's our ground agglomeration plate. That's it. The structure is ready. Now we will need a lot of mana. Let's say I'll put an eternally filled pool of mana here, and I'll immediately put an elven mana distributor right next to it. I will direct it immediately to this agglomeration plate. Oh, it's a little wrong. Binding mode, and tied it here. That's it. Now we move a little away from our stove so as not to accidentally pick up, because if we pick up on the half of this whole cycle, we just have the mana of everything flying, and consider that it will simply disappear. Therefore, we move away from this plate and poke the PCM and the monastalia, then with mana pearls, and seize with a diamond. And now watch what happens. Mana begins to be pumped here. Then 3 of these lights appear here. Later, they will turn green when the mana is saturated here. Here they are spinning so cool here. They are getting closer and closer, and now soon, literally soon, yes, a little bit left, they will turn green. 1 distributor seems to be missing for us, so let's put another one and send it here. That's also where mana goes more. As you can see, a lot of mana really goes here, because these mana distributors work more efficiently than that one. And you can see how they shoot here, shoot 2 pieces, and everything is not created in any way. So again, never come to this platform, otherwise you just have this whole process over, and the mana will evaporate. Yes, of course, the process is really very long. Let's go straight to our calves, because they will transmit much faster. To do this, what will you need to do? To do this, we take a spark with you here, we put it here, and over our pool, and also a spark. We need some kind of agglomerating plate, or what is it called? Agglomeration. We put a spark here in short, and look at it, now, we have mana moving here, and very quickly, everything is finally moving forward here. Now we have other lights have become. They literally inhabit are these objects, and so this is literally the last stage. Phew, we finally got this ingot. Here we have an ingot growing. Let's check the whole thing again without distributors, just to see the speed of these sparks. That is, I take all the same items, Moa Steel, Moa Pearl, and also Moan Diamond. And look how everything is moving very quickly here. Much faster than even with these elven distributors. Here they all connect these races like this, change their colors, blink differently, and everything is really created very quickly. Therefore, I immediately advise you to make such sparks to create exactly terrastali at least. And with such a cool sound, we get another terrastal. Now let's see where to apply. First of all, it's in the elven portals. But you can also make very cool items. First of all, this is a terrastale armor. It's unrealistically expensive. It is done here as you can see as follows. Here, you will need 3 terrastals, a helmet made of monastal, 2 branches of a non-tree, and also exactly spring. The terrace is also being made. Only here a rune will be needed in summer. You will need a rune of autumn in your pants, and a rune of winter in your shoes. With a full set, the reduction in mana costs will reach as much as 20%. Health will also regenerate if you don't even have hunger. And it will also be very slow, passively generate mana for the mana tablet, which is very cool. And it looks unrealistically cool. Just look, these are some kind of spikes. I do not know what it is, it's very beautiful. Especially the mask looks like one. Such a whole 3 dash, worked out, from behind it is like this. And by the way, she also has the following characteristics: armor hardness 3, drop resistance 1.5, and armor 3. And then we have drop resistance 4, armor 8, here we have drop resistance 3, armor 6 and drop resistance 1.5, and armor 3. She is unrealistically cool. There is also a sword like this, and the Starostali is a Terrablade. It is made from 2 ingots of Terrastale, and also a branch of the tree's life. There is also such an axe from Starostali, which by the way has 10 damage. It is made of 4 ingots of stone-colored Terrastale, and also 2 branches of the life tree. Let's take them and see. First of all, the sword. He will apply 7 Ron, and you will also be able to use him to shoot such rays. Look, here we are literally hitting the air like this, and such a ray is flying, which causes our sheep 7 Ron. And now, the axe was also made old. Let's go to game mod 0 now. So I'm in it, and just break one block of wood. We look at what happens, the whole tree breaks, even the second one is touched. Yes, true, it breaks down pretty quickly, but still it's very cool. After all, just look, you literally chop down an entire tree with one click. And also, by pressing the PCM, you will be able to plant seedlings. By pressing the shaft, you can see that the texture changes a little, some kind of light bulb seems to go out. This way you will be able to break, so here is a single block. Well, in general, these are very expensive, but at the same time unrealistically cool tools, armor and weapons and starostali. And today, we are finally moving on to the boss in botany fashion. It can even be said that not one boss, but as many as two. In order for you to summon him at all, you will need to first make yourself a book of Elfomania. That is, throw your book into the portal of Elfhelm, and thus you will get the knowledge of the elves. And now, when you discover Elfomania, you will also discover new knowledge here. We have already talked about this in the previous part, and what is important, on the second page, you will have such a button ritual of the traffic police. You click on it, and here you are described the ritual of the traffic police to summon the guard of the traffic police. Yes, that's about how it should sound. In general, you will need to build an altar like this, let's say for the call. And to build it, you will need 9 blocks of iron, 1 lighthouse, and also 4 Gaia pylons. The Gaia pylon is made from 2 ingots in the element, 2 pollen, and also a mana pylon. Let's take this whole thing and start building it. And also to summon the first level of the traffic police guards of the traffic police, you will need a bar of terastali. 1 ingot equals 1 boss. And let's build it right now. More precisely, I have already built it here, but it's better to do it all over again. So let me break everything down here now and build it together with you. Look, I go to the book, click on visualize. In this way, I make a visualization for myself, and poke, let's say, somewhere here is a PCM. That's it. Now here, we will need to install 9 blocks of iron. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we put a lighthouse, and then, at a distance of 2 blocks from the ground, we put the first Gaia pylon, then the second Gaia pylon, the third, and finally the fourth. Here it is ours. The whole structure is built. And look now what else I'll show you. Let's put up some blocks here a little bit. I'll break something here somewhere. It will simulate a kind of uneven terrain, let's say. Now I'll take our terastal to summon the boss. By the way, I'll tell you right away that you will need to go to this boss in pretty good armor and with good weapons. It is desirable to go straight to the terastali in general, but I understand that this armor is very expensive, and still try to make yourself some better armor and enchant it. Because this boss is really strong, and let's try to summon him. You press and plus PCM, and look, no matter how hard you try, the lighthouse will not accept your donation. If you think that the problem is in the territory, it is recommended to check the area around you for obstacles or large holes in the floor. And just the same it is. Let's do it with you again. And here, we indicate the zone where Gaia will be called, and the blocks that do not fit us are highlighted. Namely here we have because everything is broken. Let's restore everything here. That's it. Then, we will try to call again, and also nothing is called, because these blocks are interfering with us. They don't stand out so vividly, but they still stand out as well. And now I'm taking it away and trying to summon our Gaia. Everything is working out for us. Some kind of music turns on. I don't know if it has copyright or not, but I'd rather mute it. And here he is, our Gaia. At first, he's like this, all in some parts. And then look, there's even a potato peeping through here. It's just my copy, only some kind of black and white, or rather I would even say just black. As you can see, he has a HP of 320 units, and he is quite strong. He will have various attacks, he will shoot you, that's how to do all sorts of fields, in which you will be smeared. There will be all sorts of flying ones. Who are these butterflies, or who is it? Well, it doesn't really matter. There are also evil mobs, and you will need to kill him in general, oddly enough. But you can see now, I have 7 Terra Blades dealing damage, and I'm also dealing it how much? 7 critical damage. They're even like 10. Let's take a sword like this for some kind of ultra enchantment, and try to extinguish it with it. It is applied somewhere, because there are 3 units or something. Yes, 32 units are demolished to him. It may seem to you that this is quite boring, but in fact, as he is killed, he will become stronger. Namely, he also has a second stage. Now up, here it takes off, and look what happens. He literally sucks in some kind of mana, firmware I do not know yet, but in general, he will remember all sorts of mobs like this. They are quite weak, usually skeletons, zombies, spiders will be there. But in general, you will just need to wait, get rid of these mobs, and as a result, he will enter the last stage, namely, he will simply become an ordinary traffic police again, and you will be able to house him. And while he's flying here, you can't do any damage to him with a bow or a sword. Finally, he remembered, as you can see, I haven't even killed all these mobs yet, and he moved into the last stage. Let's finally kill him. That's it, we killed him. The music stopped very abruptly, and look what fell out of it. 8 spirits of the traffic police fell to us from it. If I'm not mistaken, then you won't even get constants. No more, no less. And what of them can you do? Of these, you open up just a huge number of crafts, namely, in my opinion, as many as 16. Yes, 16 crafts. Here you can now make various wands, charms of all kinds. Here are more amulets. But this in general, we will consider with you in the following parts. Here you can even make some raincoats. And now we are interested in the following. This is how to summon a guy of the second level. Yes, because we have it. Look, we also have a tab here. Here is the ritual of the second level guy. And here, we will need to make such a traffic police ingot. It is made from the terrastale of the 4 spirits of the traffic police. We will get with you a whole 1 ingot of traffic police. And by the way, you won't need it anywhere else. Let me even show you now. That's how they found the spirit of the traffic police. Click on Y, and in general, it is not used anywhere, only for calling the second level traffic police. But before we summon a guy of the second level, I want to tell you that the first level is generally created in order to simply prepare for the second level. Because in fact, only guys' spirits fall out of it, and even not in such large quantities. And it is advisable to make ingots of the spirit of the traffic police out of them. Because from the second level, the spirits of the traffic police, and many other loots, including very cool artifacts, will also fall into you. Relics as they are called here. Well, in general, let's summon our guardian guy of the second level. To do this, we take with you, naturally, our ingot of the spirit of the traffic police. Go to the lighthouse and click on the Shift plus PCM. The guard of the traffic police of the second level is called, although it is not written 10 times, but in fact it is. By the way, the damage is now being inflicted on him a little less. Before that we inflicted 32 with this sword, and now 28. And let's check the Terra Blade. Now even 4, that is, 3 less damage. By the way, he has absolutely 320 KP units as well. And actually, the guardian of the traffic police is essentially different in that he has a little more armor. And probably all because he also has a second stage, that is, here he takes off again and sucks in mana. And by the way, he definitely has such attacks. This is a type of spark that releases you directly, and they will hit you pretty well. Well, at this stage, when it's very funny mutas it, he calls in the same mobs. That's it, he finally got out of this stage. It remains only to finish him off. That's it, the last blow, and we killed him. Let's see what fell out of it. And by the way, we were pretty lucky, because a lot of resources fell from it. Namely, these are 2 seeds of growth, 18 bars of monostil, but it's not so cool really. Then, there are 9 more mana pearls, and that's what's cool. These are 2 runes of greed already good, 3 runes of gluttony, and another thing like this called a Venator Rose. It is applied to the desiccant, and you literally tame it. I'll tell you about it later. By the way, there is also a record that cannot be knocked out in any way, except from the traffic police. This is a squeaky record. I probably won't show you how it sounds, because it's not enough for me to have some kind of copyright, and you can check it in your creative. Another thing that matters, and that always falls out, is the Dice of Fate. This is considered that the cases are like in XK, or in some other games, let's say Brawl Stars, only in Minecraft. And here, you may get one of the 6 relics, which we will consider today. We also had such a very cool subject, called wool, in this case, some kind of Virak, and you can combine it with your Terra helmet, and in the end, it will give you the following effect. Critical hits break through armor, which is pretty cool. And finally, we got 16 spirits of the traffic police. Of the 4 pieces, you can craft another ingot, and thus form the guards of the traffic police. Well, you could also knock out the following from this guardian. These are a variety of runes, all of which we generally have, that is, mana, let's say anger, years and so on. Then, by the way, before that, 24 ingots still fell out, here we are now 18. But by the way, last time less than 1 family fell out at all. They are quite expensive. The Dice of Fate will always fall to you, and you may also fall out, or the wool of a rim. These critical hits impose a strong weakness effect. The wool is up to Haruk. The damage from a critical hit increases with decreasing health, which seems cool to me. Fusion's wool, critical hits heal part of the damage done. That is, in fact, into empiricism. Thur's wool, critical strikes impose a strong deceleration effect. The wool of Virak, critical blows, pierce the armor that we have now fallen. And finally, Carol's wool. Critical hits impose a dehumidification effect. It seems to me that it will be useful everywhere in general. But before considering the relics, I would like to show how the wills work in general. Look, here we have the wool of let's say Carillions. Critical hits cause drying effects. We will need a helmet, and in general, for this whole system to work, we will need exactly a full set of Terra armor. I will also take a creeper to test a wooden sword, so that just not to kill him with 1 blow. Look, here we take our helmet, and impose this wool on it with coral. And now we have it added. It says here, a critical blow is applied by drying effects. This means that it has been applied. And now we are putting on this helmet. And by the way, look, and now there is such an effect. The effect of the spirit of some literally. Let's try it now. It's just the whole thing without a set of armor. Here I have a wooden sword. Also a helmet with the wool of Corilla is put on. And let's try to strike a critical blow. No, drying is applied. Now let me put on full armor, kill this creeper, and remember a new one. Here, I have a full set now, and now we are dealing it a critical blow. And we look carefully. Drying is superimposed on it, and blows it 2 more units of HP. That is, all of these wills will work with a full booking site. And that's how, by the way, the full set of Easter steel armor will look like, along with the wool. Pretty cool, but it seems to me that the wool could be moved a little higher, somewhere on the forehead. But now let's move on to the bones of fate. I took them. By the way, you will have them disappear with each use, but let's still take a poke. I poked it once, and look what happened to us. And since now I have all the objects already relics, that is, they exist in this world, and they are attached to me. Nothing else will fall out to me, because, as you know, we only have 6 sides on the bones, and, accordingly, 6 digits can fall out. In this case, I got 3. I don't remember what it refers to some particular relic. Well, in general, if you fall into a repeated number that you have already fallen out before, it means that you will get just some random items, pretty good from botany. In this case, there are 5 spirits of gay, 2 runes of anger, 3 runes of laziness, and also 2 runes of gluttony. Let me poke again. Now 6 drops out, and I got that 6 litkas of monostali, 7 pearls of mana. Then how many more guy spirits? In my opinion, 7 diamonds, and also 2 black lotuses. But if you get a certain number that you didn't have before, you are given a relic. As I said, there are only 6 relics. We have grisai fruit like this, then the key to the royal arsenal, the eye of the weather vane, the ring of Thor, the ring of Odin, and finally, the ring of Loki. The first is the grisai fruit. First of all, by the way, I wanted to tell you that all these artifacts, relics, work only for mana. That is, you will need to have a mana tablet in your inventory, and best of all fully charged, because these religions discharge it all pretty well. What does this fruit do? You can just eat it endlessly, and thus, with the help of mana, fill your hunger. Look here, we even have a little mana spent, so it just flows away, even it's clearly visible. And in this way I fill my hunger without eating this fruit. That is, it is infinite, and simply transforms mana into hunger. The next relic is the key to the royal arsenal. This relic will be more interesting already. I take this key from the royal arsenal. I definitely have mana with my inventory, and just clamp the PCM. Look what's going on. Behind us, we will remember just a huge number of weapons. These are all kinds of sabers, swords, daggers, even some hoes, tridents, some 2-handed axes, 1-handed axes. In general, absolutely all types of weapons. Now if I press it and go somewhere, well, look at that pig. I'm letting go of the PCM, and look, just all these weapons are flying and blowing up this pig, and she unfortunately died. Or here it is, wait a minute. In short, it doesn't matter. Let's now remember a lot of creepers, and we'll check the whole thing on them now. Let's say how many things are there. 10. Now I'm pointing this whole arsenal at them. He's flying all over and blowing up these creepers. I think it will be very cool to use it against a crowd of zombies, let's say. Let's see again how it will all spawn behind us. We clamp the PCM, and they will gradually all spawn. We can't help remembering them, that is, I squeezed the PCM a little bit, then squeezed it out, and now they were asleep in the air. We need to put the squeeze on, and now we can put the whole thing somewhere forward. The next relic is the eye of the weather vane. This is quite a useful thing if you play alone, and you don't have any TP Hulk. Because look, you press the shift PCM, let's say on this block, it stands out for you. Now I'm flying somewhere. Let's say I'm going to fly to Shrek in the swamp now. Here's where I buy a hop like this, and together with it. Then, I want to go home abruptly. Just clamp the PCM, and now that's it. I'm moving home. You can naturally rearrange these points, let's say somewhere here, by flashing plus PCM, and all a new point is set. Now Oppa again clamp, and tfu and here. Then, there are 3 rings. The first one is the ring of Thor. I take it, I also take a mana tablet, and such an earth crasher. It has different levels. What it is in general, I'll tell you a little later, and now we'll just test how this ring works. If anything, it will only work with the dredger. Let me go into survival mode now. So I'm in it, and now I'm going to dig with this dredger. Look, he breaks us 3 by 1, and 1 deep. Now I'm going to wear this ring. I switch to costume jewelry, or whatever it's called, and put on rings in general in place. Now we are looking at what will happen. And our digger is now digging 3 by 3, and 3, in my opinion, into the distance, or 2 blocks, 2 blocks. In general, this will increase the digging radius of our digger, and also spends a little more mana. Naturally, this will work with other levels of the dredger as well. A little later, I'll probably even show it to you in the next parts, when we get to it. But now, I just don't want to spoiler the epic that will be. The next ring is called the Odin ring. This ring will be simply irreplaceable to everyone, I think that. Let me put it on now. Here again in costume jewelry, I take off this Thor ring, and put on Odin's ring. Now I'm going to go into survival mode, and look, we have hearts being added. And this is considered to be the second band of hearts. That is, 20 more health units are added to us. When we default to 20, we still add 20 and even 40. Then look, now we just won't die. We won't suffocate in water, we won't burn in lava, we won't burn in fire. We won't even starve to death. That is, look, let's take it now, let's say, into the lava, and just swim in it like this, and I have nothing to do with it at all. Then let's also try to suffocate in the water now. I'll dig myself a hole like this in the water here, and will never suffocate here at all. Now I will run out of bubble strips, but we will not die. Up, all the last bubble has leaked, and we just calmly live here in the water, and don't even suffocate. And what's cool, look, I'm going to fly very, 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 very high. Literally, this is already fatal for us. I think that the height is even higher I want, and turn off the game mod. I fall down and look, nothing is being applied to me at all. Think of it as the ring of a Superman or something, a demigod of some kind. And the last ring, this is Loki's ring. I take it, and take some building blocks. This ring will naturally need to be put on and on the same slot, let's say here. And now look, I press the Shift plus PCM on this block, I have it highlighted. Then, I press the Shift plus PCM, so, therefore, and let's assume we round it off like this. And let's do it in the next one. Now look, I take the bricks, and put the cladding with the PCM. I have now put on top of literally the same thing that I highlighted, only all these bricks are spent, and in general, it makes it easier for us to build. Let's say I put a shifter here, plus a PCM, and everything is also put very quickly. In this way, you can literally build a whole wall with one click, or some elements that are very often repeated in your buildings, and thus, it is much easier to build. All of this can be done as well as the above to do, and in general, how you want to build. The block that we highlighted is the block that we will click on, and how everything will be built on it. That is, here we have the first block, here, as it were, and there is also the first block. I think you understand me. Well, now let's test the little thing that fell to us with Go. This is the Rosavinator. By the way, you can't craft it in any way, only knock it out with Go. Look here, we have it written, even in the description, apply directly to the desiccant. Let's try to do as we were told. I'll take him somewhere far away, so that he doesn't tear anything up for us there, and build a dryer. Up, 1, 2, 3, and now we just poke at our dryer, and now we look. Here he becomes so pink, kind, all sorts of hearts fly, he has 300 HP, for armor, and we can even sit on him. And right now, we have tamed the desiccant. We continue to consider various items in this fashion. And today, I would like to consider the mana management section in full. As you can understand, in this section, we show all the items that will allow you to manage the school in any way. Naturally, we will not consider the introduction to the section. We will also not consider mana pools, because we already know all this. Mana stars, sparks, various distributors, tablets, and in general, everything else we will consider today in this part. Except for the fact that in the pools, I would like to say that we also have a new pool opening. I don't know in this section it is shown, no. But in general, look what we have. You can see, we have a mana pool, a diluted mana pool, and also have a fabulous mana pool. We make it out of 5 shimmering stones, quite beautiful by the way. And the shimmering stone is made of life stone, and also of such a Bifrost block. I'll tell you how to do it later. But for now, let's forget about it, and look at this pool, and as you can understand from crafting, it will hold a lot more mana than a mana pool usually does. In general, that's what it was created for. There are no more functions in it, except that he is very beautiful, and literally shimmers like that before our eyes. Look how it changes its colors abruptly. Next, I would like to view such a mana detector here. As I said before in other guides, this is a detector that allows you to detect mana. But in general, I think that even everything is clear here. It is made of a 4-stone for 4 lives stone, and also a comparator. Let's take it as well. In order to consider it, I will take a mana distributor, an eternally filled pool, an empty pool, and also a red stone. And first of all, let's put a mana detector, and here is a mana distributor. I'm going to put a pool of mana behind it, it's always full, and in the way of this distributor, I want to put a pool right here, literally through this detector here. And look, when mana passes here, it lights up. We can even read this with the help of redstone. And now you can see that redstone also lights up when such a mana pulse passes here. It burns very, very quickly, literally for a second, but still, it should be enough to apply it in some mechanisms. Naturally, it will also work diagonally. Let's say somehow let's do this like this. Here, by the way, it will be necessary to put an empty one. Next, let's redirect the distributor here. Here mono passes, and also everything is read out perfectly here. Next, consider such a mana mirror. It's like a tablet, only even cooler. It is made from a mana tablet, a branch of life by a tree, a terrestrial ingot, a stone life, and also mana pearls. Crafting is quite expensive, but this item is really very good. After all, we can put a mana pool anywhere in the world, and tie a mana mirror to this pool of mana, and thus, never recharge our mana tablet, because its role will be performed by this mana mirror. It will be powered by this pool. That is, let's say we have some kind of infinite source of mana at home, which generates just a huge amount of mana. We craft this mirror, bind this mirror to our mana pool, where a lot of mana is stored, with the help of a shift plus a PCM. And now you can see we have such a charge. It displays exactly our pool of mana, that is, how much mana is in it. Now you can see the maximum amount, but it will remain that way, because we have an eternally filled one. Let's say, there is already a Hall of Hell, and he spends a little mana. This is PCM, and that's great, everything lights up here. If I didn't have this mirror, let me throw it away, then nothing would light up here. Then you can also tie this mirror to other pools, let's say, or tie a lot of pools to one pool with the help of distributors. And already tie this mirror to this common pool, and then you will have just a huge amount of mana in your inventory. Next, consider such a trolley with a pool of mana. We still can't get away from these pools. Well, that's exactly what mana management is. Look, I'll take this trolley and also pack a mana pump. By the way, let's look at their crafts. The trolley is made, oddly enough, from a pool of mana and also a trolley. And the man pump is made of 6 stone lives, 2 monostal ingots, and also a bucket. Let's stimulate such a small railway track with you. I think that will be enough. Then let's put a pump here that will look at the railway. Here you can see there is such an arrow. It looks at the rails. So, we will have mana pumped out from here, and transferred in this case to our trolley, which will be located here. Let's put an eternally filled mana basin here, and look, here the pump starts working like this. It's quite interesting, by the way. And quickly pump mana all over the trolley. Then, let's say we can send the whole thing somewhere far away. They're 4 kilometers for millions of kilometers. And let's say to another house. And there, at the end, let's put the following. There will be a pool of mana, and here is a mana pump that looks at this pool of mana and is closely adjacent to the rails. We let a trolley in here. Look, it comes like this, and is quickly pumped out also with the help of this pump. Hop, and all the mana was pumped here. And by the way, without any losses at all. By the way, what else? Let's check. Is it possible to pump out from the side? Let's say here, we will have a trolley, and here there will be a mana pump. That's how we'll put it and try it. Come on. Yes, it works, by the way. Therefore, we can even do all this from the side. Then, there is a very useful block called Mana Void. It is made of 2 obsidian, also 6 stone lives. And with it, you can literally show your wealth in mana, because you will have it. Consider that the air will evaporate and just dissipate. Let's see how it will work. Here we have candles, a filled pool of mana. I will also take a diluted pool of mana to fill it faster. And here is such a distributor Manigai, the best distributor in this fashion. We will consider it a little later. I'm going to put a filled and diluted pool of mana right here in the back. Look, it fills up pretty quickly, literally with one shot. Yes, that's it. Hop, it's all filled up. The distributor has stopped working, and we still have mana here. And now let's put this mana emptiness at the bottom of this pool. First of all, the bottom is changing, and now, all the mana that is superfluous is simply poured out. Consider that beyond the edges, or the air disappears and simply disappears. Honestly, I don't know where it can be useful, except in some mechanisms, where, let's say, there is some kind of mana detector or the like. But so it seems to me it's just a transfer of mana. The next very useful mechanism is called mana meche. It is made of 6 life plates of wood, leather, and also the rune of air. Crafting is quite unpleasant, but in fact, this thing plays a pretty good role. First of all, it's not very useful, but it's also nice. We can put forever on a full pool, let's say. To attach a manum to it like this. Let's say let's have another chapel here, and also here on this side. Their work will be joined, by the way. And now let's do it here to charge our tablet. Let's throw a tablet here, and literally here is 1, 2, and also 3. Look now, our tablet is almost charged. If we had 1 monomech standing here, then it would all be much slower, and if without them, it would be very slow at all. In general, they speed up the charging of our tablet or something similar. But what's also very cool, we can put them and also give them to him to the stove. So let's say 1, 2, 3. There will be an ordinary stove standing here. Here we will throw coal, and also with so iron. In that stove, we also put coal and also iron. And by the way, we didn't attach it here. And now let's just poke the PCM on them. We watch hop hop poke, 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 poke very very quickly. And now we just climb into the oven. There are already 7 bars here, and there is only 1. That's how we poke here. By the way, it is possible to organize it all on activators, and rather it seems to me that it will be just a cannon at all. Look at 15 already here. In general, everything melts very quickly. When there are 19 here, there are only 3. The next mechanism, let's call it that, is called a monoprism. It is made of 6 glasses, 2 prismarine crystals, and also a spectral platform. The spectral platform is made of a palsophia of 2 dreamwoods, 2 framed dreamwoods, and also carved dreamwoods. Let's take this prism, Then take another mana distributor, a thing filled with a pool, a regular pool, and any lens. And I'll tell you what a lens is a little later, but for now, let's just look at it all, using the example of a speed lens. As can be understood from the names, this lens will simply accelerate mana. Let's put a distributor here. Here the Manovich pool is filled, and here we will just have a mana pool. Man goes here. Let's better make more distance. Let's say this, yes, it's enough. Then here, I will put a mana prism, and look at this mana prism, we will be able to put on any lenses. And by the way, it will also be possible to skip any streams from this side later. Well, in general, look, here we use a speed lens. Here you can see that mana does not move so fast, but here it already flies much faster. So let's fly away, and here you can literally see that mana is accelerating. Here, it will be possible to naturally have all sorts of other lenses. Let's try some other one. Let's say that the lens is drilling. Let's try to poke PCM. Now we have here, and see that everything will happen with us. Come on, the earth is breaking down. Well, in general, this is the whole function of this prism. The next mechanism is called the mana distributor. It is made of 6 lives of stone, and also 2 ingots of monastal. I will take it. I also take an ever-filled pool, usually a pool, and as always a mana distributor. I'll put it here. Let's say, here's an unusual mechanism, probably, but let's call it that. And I'll put it here, with all 4 Storanilni mana. And look, this mana distributor, as you can guess from the name, it will distribute mana, which will flow directly into it, namely into this upper part here. So let's put a mana distributor a little higher here. Point it right at this upper part of it. Look here, it will shoot at it, right clearly. And now here I will put things filled with bossy mana. And look, mana is transferred here, and it is evenly distributed between the pools. Maybe, by the way, there is such a problem. Let me break this whole thing. I'll put a distributor here. Point it right here on the top part. Break the pools, I'll put it again. Here you see everything clearly. And here I put again the thing filled. And it may happen that this distributor will simply not finish shooting here and will fall into one of the nearest pools of mana, which block the way here, and thus move mana only here. Next, I would like to consider these are the add-ons for sparks. We have already considered the sparks with you before, it seems, in the second or third part. And now let's look at the complements for them. There are only 4 pieces. These are scattering, dominant, recessive, and also isolating. First of all, consider the scattering. I also take it as by default, eternally filled, a spark, and also a mana tablet. I'll put a pool, a spark above it, and I poke this supplement right into the spark. Look, we are going to have such a runka flying there now. Here it is, you can see. It just reflects the fact that this is a scattering thing for us. And right now, you can see that mana is flying at us. What does this mean? This means that our mana tablet is charging. Here you can see, we even have an actress in our hand a little bit, and it charges quite rapidly. Well, in general, this is probably the whole function of these sparks with improvement. Improved dispersion. They sort of dissipate mana for the right devices that you have in your inventory. Then there is the dominant addition. We take it, we also take the pools, spark and filled. By the way, the scattering craft is like this. The rune of water, Palsifia, and also a monastal ingot. And the dominant one is a dominant rune to the lights, the dust of Sophia, also a monastal ingot. I will put the pool first, then a spark above it, and a little later, an addition. To begin with, let's put filled things here, and fill things here. Let's say we can even put sparks over them. And now, we are improving our spark with an empty pool with a dominant addition. And watch what happens. She literally sucks in all the mana from these pools here. Because she, let's say, dominates them. And now the pool is full. The next rune is recessive. She makes a Kesura on the ground. The Palsify also came with an ingot. I take, as always, a pool, a spark, and also an empty pool. Let me put a pool filled here, a spark over it, and also immediately let's improve it recessive. Now let me put a pool here, but there's a pool above this spark pools. And now you can see that this spark, on the contrary, gives away all the mana from itself. It cannot be used as a scattering one. Well, the last addition is an isolating one. It is made from the rune of air, Palsify, and also monastali. I take the eternally filled and now ground agglomeration slab, lapis lazuli, and also lifestone, because now I'm going to make that platform for creating a terrastale. So I made it. Let's put the thing on a full pool here, and now spark. See what is the essence of this supplement. This spark with the addition will now give mana only to structures that require mana, that is, let's say how to create a terrastale. That is, when a request is created here, this mana will flow here. Next, let's consider another thing like this for just the same of these additions, called Tinker Spark. It is made of 2 ingots in an element, 3 stone lives, and also a stone of dust. We also take it. We take 2 additions, one of them is dominant, the second one is scattering, then a spark, eternally filled, and also a lever. I'll put this Tinker's Scrum. Let's assume 3 pools here, and also 3 sparks on them. Then it's better to supplement them with scattering, 3 pieces at once, and here I'll put the dominant ones right on this platform. Now let me take the lever and just push it. Look, here we have this rune changing now, that is, what kind of rune is being given to us here. This is our scattering one, and the dominant one has been placed here on the left, and this way you will be able to change such additions. You can put, let's say, 1 pool, and thus change the runes. Before that, by the way, we had such sections as mono lenses, and also elven mono lenses. We will consider them in a separate part, because there are a lot of them, and there is also quite a lot to explain there. Well, now let's look at the elven mono distributors. We have not only the elf distributor, but also the traffic police here, after you kill the traffic police boss. Elvish is made from 6 dream wood of any petal, and also an ingot element. About Gay, from the elven distributor of mana, the spirit of Gay, and also the dragon stone. Let's take all these distributors and just comparable ones. Here we have an ordinary, elven also traffic police, but let's take the staff of the forest, and just look at their range. First of all, this is what we usually have, and for so many blocks. Then there is the elvish one. The traffic police are so very far away in general, and also, the amount of mana that is required for them to make a shot, they differ. The traffic police have the most, and it transmits all the fog much faster. In short, the guy's mana distributor is just a cannon. Yes, it also shimmers so beautifully. And finally, the last item from this section is the Monarch Converter. It is made of 4 red stone blocks, 4 life stones, also a monostal ingot. I also take, let's say, an elven distributor and an eternally filled pool. I'll put it in this way so that mana is transferred here, and now this converter will convert mana into energy for other mods. You will be able to connect any wires here that receive energy from the Russian Federation and power, let's say, some stoves. And today, we are finally going to look at the end of the mana management section with you. Namely, what we did not consider in the last part. These are lenses. Lenses are both ordinary and elven. In general, what are lenses? Lenses are such pieces of glass that are put on our distributors and give some effects to the flow of mana. Let's say we have an ordinary lens, the most ordinary one, which we craft, in my opinion, even just out of glass. Yes, here, it is made of glass, and also, for ingots of monostal. It doesn't actually do anything, but we can paint it in any color by simply connecting the lens with the die in the workbench. And in this way, we will get some kind of lens. Let's say in this case, it is a purple lens. And what will be done? Let's push the lever here. This is our red mana distributor, and here you can see the purple mana flow. Let's take another look at this. I press the lever and here it flies. It is simply painted and no more buffs are applied here. The next lens is the speed lens. We can look at the range here. We are doing a little less, even for 4 blocks. I would say this is significant in this case. Well, look what's going on. Here we have a faster mana flow. Let's compare it now with this one here. At the same time, we press approximately and look, this stream flies much faster than the first one. But here, as you may have already understood, we pay with the flight range of this stream itself, because after this point, it will just dissipate. The next lens is the potential lens. Look, it flies a little less than an ordinary lens. Here it is our first, but here the flow will be much more powerful. Let's take a look at it. Here he is. Look at this hop flying, and this flow will be more powerful than with a conventional lens. That is, more mana will be transferred. And by the way, mana from this lens becomes as much as twice as much. Then, there is the resistance lens. Let's look at its range. Here it does not end, and its ending is about twice as large as that of a conventional distributor. In other words, let's just see now how the stream will fly. So we release it, and it keeps flying, and so far, it doesn't lose itself in any way. But after this point, it still disappears. This lens can be useful in some large schemes, where it is very important that mana simply does not evaporate. Then, there is the efficiency lens. Let's see where the beam starts to dissipate. Namely here, it is about the same as the usual one. But look what the joke is, that after this point, the signal to be much slower disappeared. Let's take a look at it now. So I activate it and look. Now it's flying all the time. Here we have a point where it starts to diverge a little, but in the end, it still retains itself. And even it is now visible and end. Somewhere here, it is already dissipating. Then, there is such a messenger lens. This lens will create a very weak stream, but it will fly very, very far. Let's just look at it now. Here he is flying all the time, flying very fast. The beam is flying, and here he is still flying. Yes, further and further. And here it will be dispelled right now. Look here. It's all gone here. And here, by the way, is the point when it begins to dissipate already. It is very far from this distributor. The next lens is called a rebound. This lens will create a flow of mana that will bounce off the blocks. Let's put it here. Let's say hop, and look, we have such a signal flying, and Oppo is reflected, it flies back. And look here, it will also be seen if we put it a little further away, let's somewhere here. We look at the scattering point right here. But this is the point of dispersion, when everything is already reflected. The next lens is called the gravity lens. It will create gravity for our monoflow. Let's say we did this like this, and send our distributor here. That is, we select the distributor and also the block. Everything's great. We have directed, now we are releasing mana, and look, mana is flying like this, in such an arc, very interesting. And in the end it dissipated here. That is, this lens gives it gravity. The next lens is called lens drilling. It will be as clear as the title, and break blocks. Let's say we put 3 blocks here, and release our beam. Hop, and all 3 blocks break. It is very convenient to use this in some farms. Then comes the lens damage. As it is clear for the title, it will cause some damage, but not with a block, but to any living beings. Let's say we have a creeper, a hop, and we release a stream of mana. And moreover, a creeper, look, as many as 2 damage of 8 was inflicted, and as a result, there were 4 HP left. This lens can be used in some farms, mob farms, and very cool, because here consider that for 1 release of mana, as much as 16 damage is inflicted, which almost kills mobs. Then, there is the lens of ghostliness. This lens will create such a flow of mana that will pass through the blocks. Let's put such a barrier here in 3 blocks, right in front of the stream, and look, it flies perfectly. But by the way, the distance, when all this begins to evaporate, decreases. The price is as much as 3 blocks. That is, 1, 2, 3, and now even 4. Well, look, when I broke the blocks, it increased. Then comes the lens by magnetism. This is a lens that will release a stream that will be attracted to the nearest blocks that require mana. Let's say we put a mana pool here, not even in the direction of this distributor. Let's also put it here. And let's assume in the direction. Now let's see what happens. Look at the op. We have a stream being released here, and it is directly redirected to this pool. We break this one. Now we release it, and it is redirected here. And now finally, let's do this straight in a straight line, and he flies straight into this pool. Then, there is a lens called entropy. This is a pretty dangerous lens, so let me distract you a little. I'll put a block somewhere here. I hope it will fly here and we'll see. We release this beam, and now it will fly, and something will happen. There will be an explosion. In this case, it's not so big, because it has already begun to dissipate, but if we put it somewhere here, let's do it anyway. We are releasing a stream, and now there will be an explosion like this. Then, there is a lens called impact. This is quite an interesting lens, because it will attract experience, shot, and also even falling blocks with it. Let's say we smash everything here like this, throw out 100 seeds, even 100 seeds, and now activate this case. Look, here is such an unknown force that literally pushes both knowledge and experience in that direction. Let's try to organize this whole thing also with falling blocks. I don't even know if it will work out now or not, but we'll try it anyway. So we release and do it. Oh yes, look at what we did. Just like that, the sand is flying quite interestingly here. Then, the mass lens. This lens will give mass to any blocks, that is, like sand. Let's say look, we have such a block of turf, under which let's pull out here such a hole for deep. Now let's let this beam in here, and look, it affects this block, and it literally falls. We can even do it with, say, a thigh. Will it work out by the way or not? Let's try it. Well, we lower the mana here, and no, it doesn't work on the thigh. Then there was arson. As clear behind the title, this lens will set fire to everything in its path. That is, let's say we have a block here, and now we all launch this beam, and just create a fire. Then, the power lens. This lens will simply move the block in front of it like a piston. Let's let out a stream of mana here, and watch what happens now. It's just that this turf moves 1 block forward, literally like a piston. Only such a piston at a distance, let's say. And finally, the last lens, not counting the elven ones, is the flash lens. When the flow created by this lens meets some block, a flash like this will be created. Let's take a look at it. Here it is, literally like in Warsmagic. When you get tired of it, you can just break it. Then, there is a lens called a paint reflector. We can paint this lens in any color. By the way, we already have an elven lens, and it will create a flow that will color blocks that can be colored. Let's say we have wool. We create a stream, and look at us, the whole thing crashes, and all these blocks are colored orange because this lens was orange. Then, there is a lens called distortion. This is a very interesting lens. It will only work with a power relay. Look, we are putting a power relay in the path of the monoflow, let's say here. Now, it will be necessary to bind this power relay to any unit. Let's say let's put a block of turf here. Click here PCM, and here PCM. Thus, here we have such a binding. Now we press the lever, and here we have the monoflow absorbed by this relay, and in general, it should move here to the block. But, let's say we break it, and here, we get a binding to the air, and now we are doing the same flow again. And for some reason, this case still doesn't work for me. I do not know why, but according to the plan, the stream should simply be retransmitted in this block, to which we have it tied, and fly on. That is, he just teleports, like here he enters, and somewhere here, he appears, and goes out to fly further. Why it doesn't work like that for me, I do not know. Maybe it's just that there are such problems with the version. Then, there is a rather interesting lens. Honestly, I don't know where to apply it. It is called redirection. Look, we have, let's say, a distributor like this. We put it in the way of the mana flow up, and now we just activate the lever. A stream of mana flies here, and deploy this distributor in the direction of the distributor from which this stream flew out. Let's take another look at this. Here we have distributors looking to the left now. Now again, we are making a stream, and now it will turn. Here he is, look turned around. I do not know where to apply it, but if you know, then be sure to write in the comments. I'm really very interested. The next, let's say, decorative lens, is called a celebration. Look, if we have a mana flow with this lens, meets some kind of block, then this kind of fireworks will be created, which we will have very conveniently this high. Yes, it flies very high, probably about 40 blocks or so, and explodes there. We can create so much, by the way, see how. It's a beauty in general. Then, there is another decorative lens called splash. If we deactivate this lever now, then look, we will create such a flow of mana, which even in my opinion does not fill the pools. Well, yes, look, here it is, it doesn't fill the pools, it's just a decoration like that, and it will be the same color as we paint this lens. And the last lens that you can craft is called a stretch. Look, now I'm going to take this pool of mana and put it right here on the way. And now if any living being passes through here, even let's say I am, then consider what is happening. Mana flow is released here. It can be read with the help of a mana detector, and let's say, some kind of trap is launched with the help of all this. That is, look, I'm going through here again and again, such a flow of mana is created, and never again. Quite an interesting lens. I think it can be applied somewhere again in the construction of traps. And finally, the last lens is called a storm. This is a creative lens. There is no way to craft it, and it looks quite banal, like an ordinary lens. Well, let's compare it again quickly. Yes, it's really like an ordinary lens. Absolutely transparent and generally simple. But look here, by the way, her range is also no different. And why is it creative? What is she doing? Let's put a block right here, so that we have this whole thing cut into it as far as possible, because now there will be an explosion, and quite a powerful one. And look, here is such an explosion, literally like the Tata entropy lens, or as it was called for entropy in my opinion. Only the explosion is stronger here. Well, in general, here they are all our lenses. I think that in everyday life, you will probably use only the first 5 lenses, because the rest are very peculiar. And now, we finally move on to the next section, called generating flora. As you can understand from the name, here we will have various flowers that will generate something, namely mana. Here we meet our wood hydrangea already familiar to us. And then there's this endoflame. But you can see there are also a lot of other very interesting flowers here. So let's take them apart. The first flower is quite interesting in its mechanics. This is shock minot. For some reason, we haven't translated it yet. How many? 3 years have probably passed, and it still hasn't been translated. But this, in principle, will not interfere with our knowledge of it. I will tell you right away that for his work, you will need another second flower called Heisei's Dream. It's not a generating flora, it's a functioning flora. We have it in the next section, which here it is a functioning flora. This section is a little more than creating flora, but we will analyze it in the next part. What is a functioning flora? This is flora, who will spend mana and do something. In this case, what is Heisei's Dream doing with us? It will simply make all mobs aggressive, they will even beat their relatives. Just for this, we will need this flower. The flower of Shulkin itself is made from the rune of anger, the rune of envy, the spirit of gay, a light gray petal, 2 purple petals, and also 2 purple petals. We take this flower, we will also need a shocker, because as an understandable call, this flower works from the shockers. I will also take a mana distributor, any mana pool, of course our Dream Heisei, for her washing, and also zombies. Just to show how these flowers work. In general, first of all, we will put amino shock. That's how it looks, pretty nice. He will work for us from shocker. Let's sleep here, and for some reason nothing happens. Here look, we have nothing generated. Let's even put a traffic police mana distributor here. Here it is, here it is. We will tie this whole thing. We will tie it here, and nothing is generated anyway. Why? Because we need this shocker to attack someone. More precisely, he was attacked, exactly when he had his lid open. To do this, we will need to remember the zombies. But for some reason, zombies don't attack anyone. And in order for him to attack and be attacked by shocker, we will need just the same flower called Heisei's Dream. Let's put a comma right here right away, with the help of this pool. So, we have it powered up, everything is great, there is a tick here, and now we can start testing this flower. Let's remember the zombies here and see what happens. So, for some reason, he doesn't want to work. I honestly don't understand why. Maybe everything is connected incorrectly here somehow. That's all he got attached to. It was just a tank. In short, here's attempt number 2. Let's remember the zombies and look. He's going to attack now. And here there was such an explosion, shocker disappeared. And look here, immediately began to flow. This whole shock of minutes was filled with mana, a lot about the plague. Here you can see the traffic police distributor, he still transmits everything here. Look here. The stripe is even growing a little bit, when you know that this pool is very spacious. Let's stimulate it again. Here we have a shocker. Let's remember the zombie. Now he will attack the shocker. He will open and, oh no, it's closed. Now in short, something will happen. And so, yes, finally there was an explosion. And again here we have mana generated. The next flower is hydrangea water. We have already considered it, but still, it is worth mentioning it too. Look, the hydrangea water will generate mana from the water. Let's say here, we have water disappeared right away, and it turned into mana. We can probably even, and here it will all be absorbed. In the end, the whole thing went wrong. How will it be necessary to install these flowers and water, so that everything works more or less normal? It really won't be the best option. I'll probably tell you about it a little later, but still, I want to show you one of the most common options, namely, just make a thing like this here from half blocks, pour water here, and then just put hydrangea water in the corners. They will absorb water here. The water here is infinite, and therefore will be generated by an infinite n. Well, as it is, it's a very good flower, if you know how to use it. The next flower is called gurmas. It is made from a rune in summer, a rune 4 lights, a red petal, 2 yellow petals, and also 2 light gray petals. We take it and also various food. Why food? Because, as you can understand from the name, this flower is a gourmet with us. He will eat various foods. Let's say we throw baked potatoes to him. He starts eating it, and we look. Here a little mana appeared in it. We throw him fried lamb. He also eats it, and now mana will be added. Here you can notice it. This flower will be ineffective if you just throw it out of your hands, but you can arrange such a special feed for it. Let's say, watermelon slices, even the most banal ones, if you make a farm, or even roast beef, if you make a special farm again. In short, if you have an infinite food company, you can attach it to this flower, and you will have infinite mana. The next flower is called chewing dew. It is made from a gluttony rune, 2 mystical lime petals, 2 red petals, and also 1 green petal. We take it, I also take an oak sapling, and bone meal. Why? But because this chewing dew will eat up all the foliage. Let's say even we can put it here somewhere right here. And look what happens, she just starts eating all the foliage of this tree. But I advise you to make this chewing dew somewhere on a tree farm where you extract wood, but you can also extract mana in parallel. Let's say you put this chewing dew slightly at a height, a tree is grown here. Look, the op has grown automatically, and this dew collects all the foliage and turns it into mana. Here's how active it is. Therefore, I believe that this flower will be ineffective to use if you do not have a firm tree. Just put the foliage, so it seems to me, it won't be a thrill at all, if only you hire some kind of slave. And so, if you have a company of wood again, which you have fully automatic, then you can safely put such a chewing dew there, and there will be a buzz in general. The next flower is life dandelion. In my opinion, this is the most difficult flower in its understanding. It is made from the spirit of gay, 2 purple petals, 1 lime petal, a green petal, a water rune, a fire rune, an earth rune, and also an air rune. I'm taking it. For it to work, we will need cellular blocks. They are made from 3 cacti, potatoes, carrots, and also beets. We take them, and take another lever, because we will have it powered by redstone. Look, we're going to put it right here in the middle. He will need a very large area, namely 25 by 25 blocks like this along the plane. And what kind of flower is this? This is considered a flower-gram. You will need to play life here, let's say, to put such cellular blocks here. Here, see what the rules are. If we have 1 cell left on the field, that is, just the same on this field 25 by 25, then it dies. If she has a neighbor or 2 neighbors, then she continues to live. If this empty block has 3 neighbors, then another cell is created here. And if an existing cell already has 3 neighbors, then it simply dies. That's how it works somehow. And most importantly, look at what to take into account here. Here we get that the cycle of life lasts 10 ticks. In other words, let's take a look at all of this now. This is very difficult to perceive by ear. It takes quite a long time to figure it out, but let's take a look at it anyway. I'll put here like this, and let's say the cells are like this and like this. And now let's run this flower. Well, what's going on here? Here they begin to spin like that, multiply. We have cycles here. Every changes with us. Consider that a generation is changing. Look, now we have something spinning around here. Let's deliver more blocks here, so that something changes. Here life begins again, and now we have something going on again. And here we are awarded points as follows. It depends on how many new cells were born here, in a radius of 3 blocks from this flower. In other words, The longer this era lasts for you, let's say probably, the more points we will have here. It's quite difficult to perceive again. It's better to watch some other videos on YouTube, or it's better to just take this book and read it here. Because in words, it is simply unrealistically difficult to explain, and it is necessary to make a separate video. But so literally, probably in about a minute and a half, I told you the essence of this flower. Let's finish this game, so that all these cells well, in general, at the end of this whole cycle. And yes, everything is gone. Some amount of mana should appear here. However, in this case there is nothing here, because just here, no cell was born within a radius of 3 blocks from this flower. Let's try again to do something after all. Let's say like this, and try to activate it again. And I just want to show you that mana still appears here. Here, you can see, there is just a little bit of mana there. In fact, by the way, this flower can even be automated, and it will bring you just a huge amount of mana. The next flower is much easier than Life Dandelion, is a Kikimoris. It is made of 2 white petals, 2 orange, and also 2 brown. We also need the rune Gluttony, and also Palsifia. We take this flower, and also a cake, because it will eat a cake. Just put it on, and put the cake here. And look, he's going to start eating it now. Look here, bites off so bit by bit, and creates mana. In principle, this flower can be considered practically useless, because I hardly think that you will have an endless plant of these cakes. Moreover, the question is how else to put them. Maybe with the help of a crate somehow. Well, that is, autonomous activators. I don't see any other options here. The next flower is called Rafflesia. It is made from the Palsifia of 2 purple petals, 2 green, 1 black, the rune of the earth, and also the rune of pride. We take him, and take various other flowers, because he will simply feed on his relatives. Let's say Hydrangea water, he eats them. Then let's say Entropine, he also eats them, and converts them into mana. In order for him to work more efficiently, he will need to serve various flowers, that is, not in a row like this in Hydrangea water, but let's say alternate them. Then there will be more mana. The next flower is called a slime mold. It is made of 2 lime petals, 2 green, 1 black, the rune of summer, and also the rune of water. We take it. To work, you will also need slime in a bottle, to find a slimy chang, and build a special farm there, where slugs will be remembered. Because, it will only work from a slug, that will spawn in the world, and not with the help of us. That is, you will not need a slug spawn egg. Look, let's say we try to find a slime chang now. We take the slime of the bottle in our hand, and if slime starts jumping there, that is as he was jumping somewhere here, it means it's a slime chang. So here the slugs will spawn, there you can build a slime farm. When the slugs are remembered, they will immediately be destroyed by this slime mold, and transformed into mana. The next flower is Spectrolysis. It is made from a fairly large number of ingredients. This is Sophia's dust, 2 red petals, 2 green, 2 blue, 2 white petals. Exactly the winter, also exactly the air. This flower is quite interesting in its work, because it will need a variety of colors of wool. Let's put it on. We throw his white wool first, then look, we take our staff of the forest, and it shows orange wool, and we throw orange. Then he shows us the purple one. Here is purple. Then it will show blue, yellow, lime, pink, gray, well in general and so on. Then again, white, orange, so in general, in a circle, they will produce quite a lot of mana. I consider this flower to be profitable, if you have an endless farm of multicolored wool, and you can endlessly feed this wool to this flower, and generate a lot of mana. The next flower is a secret rose. It is made of a mana rune, 2 pink petals, 2 purple, and also 1 lime. We take it, and also take the bubbles of experience, because this flower will feed on our experience. That is, let's give it to ourselves. Now let's just go to this rose and look. That's where we get mana. Let's switch to survival mode now, and look carefully at our experience. It slowly goes away, and transforms into mana. Quite a convenient flower, if you just have a lot of experience. Let's say there are thousands. The next flower is a lily. It is made of a rune of lights, a rune of earth, 2 orange petals, and also 1 red. We take it, and we also take lava, because this flower will work from lava, about the same as Hydrangea water. Here look, we have lava absorbed here, and, moreover, it is transformed into a full strip of mana here. This flower is quite difficult to automate, because it will need to feed lava into its radius of action. That is, it will have to be pumped somehow, with the help of pipes. But if you find a way, let's say from hell, a big lake there, pump lava, and teleport it to the ordinary world, right to our flower. Then, you can really cool yourself to get mana. The next flower is End of Flames. We have already considered it. Well, let's take another look at its effectiveness, and compare it with others. Let's say we have a traffic police distributor. Let's put it up, and put it like this. I don't know, 6 flowers. They immediately get attached to this distributor, and we will throw more coal here, so that they all start working, and see how effective it is. 6 flowers is a pretty feasible amount that you can craft, and that's how much they will bring you mana. Pretty good, because you can automate the creation of coal, and in this way, you can make yourself an infinite mana again. And the last flower is called Intropenum. It is made of 2 red petals, 2 gray, 2 white. The rune of anger, also the rune of fire. We take it, and we take dynamite. I do not know if it will work with other dynamites from other mods, but I know that it works great with vanilla ones. After all, we put it on, and it will create mana only from explosions. Here we have dynamite. We blow it up, and see what is happening now. And we poke the PCM on this flower, and here, it is completely filled with us. Honestly, I don't know if it will work with any other mods. Let's say there is a nuclear bomb of some kind. I haven't checked it, and it's better that you don't make survival better somewhere in the creative, because you never know what will happen. Man will not work out, you will tear everything to yourself. Well, as it is, it's a pretty good flower, because it really produces a lot of mana in exchange for dynamite. And if you have some kind of company there of automatic creepers and sand, then you can calmly. By the way, now we have nothing absorbed here, because it was filled. This, by the way, should also be taken into account. Well, in general, if you have an infinite company of gunpowder and sand, then you can safely make yourself such a flower, and again make an infinite mana generation. And now let's look at the functional flora section. Here, we have quite a lot of different interesting flowers. The first is delay modulation. It describes here that, if we put some kind of flower, let's assume an endop with a flame on the ordinary ground, that is, above the ground, then on the podzol and also on the mycelium. Let's do it, and now look at what priorities they will have. If we throw coal now, then the first flower that will take it away will be a flower that is just on the turf. We throw it now to absorb this flower. So for some reason, he doesn't want to do it. Let's tie them all to this mana distributor now. That's it. And now we throw coal. He was absorbed by this flower. Now we throw the next coal, and must absorb, which is on the podzol. And that's exactly what he's doing. And the last flower it will be that is on the mycelium. In general, this is the whole point. Next, let's look at the reduction of some flowers. Not all of them, because we describe them here in the reduction of flowers. Here it will be possible to buble. Here is such a collar, and the following flowers. I think there are only 8 of them here. They can be reduced. What will it give? This will give them the fact that they will simply have a smaller radius of work. In some cases, this will be useful. How to do it? To do this, you will need such an alchemical catalyst, then a pool of mana for mana, and also a flower that we want to reduce. First, we put a chemical catalyst. We put a thing filled with a pool of mana over it, or any other. And now we just throw a buble here, one of the flowers that can be reduced. We throw it here, and get a little buble. That's how it looks, and that's how big buble is. His radius of work will simply be smaller. But, then, we turn to the consideration of all functioning flowers. The first one is bergamot. Let's put a pool of mana on this flower. Tie it here. Everything is perfectly tied up with us. And now what should this flower do? It will just drown out all the sounds that will be made. Let's say we remember a zombie, and for some reason, I can hear sounds, although he should completely jam them. Maybe it's a tank. Let's try to put it on again. Maybe we'll get better after all. No, for some reason it doesn't work. Although in fact, he had muffled the sounds before, and even now it is written in the book that he should drown them all out. But on this version, for some reason, it is so buggy. The next flower is Labellio. Let's take her as well. We take a pool of mana for her, pigs and also baby birds. Why tags? Because look, if we put basilmans now, we tie this flower to it now, and we'll remember some pig next to it. Let's even say 2. And throw 2 tags here. Now look, these tags will bind to the nearest creatures or objects. Let's say now the tag is attached to the pigs, and the second tag is also attached to the second pig. This is considered to be such an automatic naming system. The same thing will happen with objects if you really throw them here. The next flower is called Agrigvosdica. We take it, a pool, seeds, and also a hoe. Look, we are going to put a swimming pool, agricultural equipment. And what will she do? It will simply accelerate the growth of any plants. Let's say we plant wheat seeds here now, and if we wait a little bit, we will see some effects that will be above the wheat. It's a type of effector in bone meal. Here you can see. Look, it kind of transforms mana into bone meal, let's say, and puts it on the nearest plant, which accelerates their growth. The next flower is called buble. It will work for us also naturally for mana. And let's check it out. I've already experienced it behind the scenes right here. Let's change the situation. Let's say somewhere over there. Look pretty deep. And what will he do? As you can understand from the name, it's something related to a bubble. That is, buble is just the same. Let's put a thing here, filled with a pool of mana, and next to it, this buble. He's going to get a little carried away now, but let's say we put an eternally filled pool of mana here, and a buble here, and watch what happens. He generally has to take down all this water, but we just can't put it properly. Let's iron it somewhere, I don't know. So where to put it, I don't even know. Maybe here. Look, Here we have just the same place. And finally we did it. He just creates such a dome from the air under the water, and he will maintain it while Manam enters it. If we break this Basilman now, then now all this will stop when it runs out of mana. Right now he's going to end up like this a little bit. Let's break it down in general, and here the water is being restored again. The next flower is the wine lotus. We also take him naturally a washing up, an enderman, and also a bow. Why are they interesting? But because this wine lotus will, so to speak, steal a teleport from an enderman or some other creatures that will teleport and teleport only to themselves. That is, look, now we are going to shoot at this enderman. He should generally tap somewhere far away, but in this case, his teleportation is intercepted, and he teleports directly to this wine lotus. That's how it works. Cool. The next flower is called a collar. We take him, a drink for him, and another chest. Let's put a power supply, a gate, and what will it do? He will pick up absolutely all objects in his radius of work. Look, let's put a chest next to him now, so that he just puts it all in it. And it has also several modes. We are making a functional mode for our staff with a forest, and now we are poking the PCM shifter here. See here, it is written to select only framed items without frames and also any items. Let's throw a chest here, let's say, and now it will have to disappear. So we're just waiting for it, but we're waiting for it, so it's gone. And where has it moved to? And it moves directly into the chest that is next to it. Here is such a magical big funnel, let's say. The next flower is called Gacidus. We take him, give him a drink, and let him be a peasant, just like our test subject. We'll put it up and spawn the inhabitants. And look at it, the effect of poisoning is immediately superimposed on it. This is exactly the same function of this flower. He will simply impose endless poisoning on all creatures, for the sake of all work. However, he will spend a little mana. The next flower is called Clay Narcissus. This is a very interesting name. Why was it so called there? Because he will turn all the sand in his radius of work into clay. Look, we had sand here, and turn it into one clay. In this way, you can become it somewhere in the desert, and create a lot of clay for yourself there. Then move it somewhere, and so absorb the whole desert, turn it into clay. But either come up with something else. Let's assume that sand comes here endlessly. Somehow it is generated there, and then processed into clay so quickly. The next flower is called Julio. We take him, feed him, and also the peasant. This flower will repel absolutely all living beings except humans from itself. Look here, we are now going to remember the peasant, and he will just fly away like that. Because this flower simply does not allow him to come here. And the radius of work is how many times? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks somewhere. And no, 7 blocks. And now a resident wants to come here, and they just don't give him this flower to do anything. The next flower is called the Ring of Errors. We will remove him, feed him, and also, again, the peasant as a test subject. We'll put a swimming pool. We'll ring the bell right here. And what will he do? We'll remember the peasant. And look at literally how many blows he deals for damage to him. That is, out of 5 blows, he kills this peasant. And it will also be with all other living beings except humans. Here, even the residents simply do not have time to escape from here. They do not know where to run, just and although this one managed to escape. The next flower is called the Exhausted Amaranth. And this is actually a very cool flower, because let's put a pool and this flower now, see what happens. In the radius of his work, he will simply remember random flowers of various colors, mystical flowers. That is, with the help of it, you can make yourself such an automatic flower farm, which will allow you to consider that you can endlessly create other flowers. The next flower is called a tulip. We take him and take him a drink. Let's put it on now, and see what happens. He will get to the surface of all the underground creatures, that is, who are there. Let's say, some zombies are walking in caves there, so he teleports them here, and now you can kill them, so you can even make some kind of fun mold. The next flower is called Metamorphosis. We will remove it, wash it down, and also the stone. After all, it will transform the stone into various kinds of morphological forms. Let's take a look at it now. And even now, we can hear that some blocks are changing. These are changing blocks that are located underground. That is, we have a stone there, and let's say now, we have such a metamorphic stone here. Then here we have such a one. It's a mushroom. By the way, we will be performed mainly by such metamorphic stones in which we are in the biome. That is, now we are in a meadow, and basically such a meadow will be performed. But let's take a look at everything. Let's say we put it right here on the surface. Here we have everything meadow. Others can also be executed. Let's say now we also have desert, swamp, and similar stones. You can use these stones in crafting. Let's say such pharmacists here. And what is it for? Just for beauty. The next flower is called Metamon. This flower is very useful, because if any mob other than a person appears here, they simply will not move. Look, there are a lot of residents here. They can't do anything. We can only push them, and that's about it. It will also happen with creepers, with all sorts of spiders, and even perhaps by the way with bosses. But I'm not responsible for the bosses, because I don't know for sure. The next flower that we have even considered is Heisei's Dream. Look, this flower will just make all mobs aggressive. They will even bludgeon each other. Look, let's say two spiders. They usually don't beat each other. They are still normally related, but in this case this flower agitates them, and they will just kill each other. The next flower is called a fiery rune flower. This is something like a regular runicolor, which we will also consider further, but it will only work in hell. Let's move there now and take a look. And here, I have already put even 3 of these flowers, and a lot of Nazarick. Now you can hear such small explosions or knocks. It's unclear what it is, but in fact, it's just these runicolors that start working and turn all the cancer into useful items, namely ores. In this case, it is nether quartz. Here you can see even now right before our eyes, something is happening there, and this Nazarick is changing. Even now we could see it. The next flower is called the Fallen Canadian, or Canada, right how correctly. But let's take it, in general, put a pool, and put this flower. And now we see that it overlaps with us. Regeneration 3, which is very cool. You can literally run up to him like that, and heal very, very quickly. Then there is a flower called Polydisiac. Let's put a pool, this flower, and remember the 2 pigs. Now we throw carrots here, and look, this flower will just automatically feed these pigs. So he fed them, and now they have a little pig. It will also happen with chickens, cows, and the like. Then there is a flower called Pewterberry. And this flower, consider that it will perform the function of such a beater, which will hold only animals, but not a person. Let's say pigs. Let's hit one of them now. She's going to run, and now she's going to hit one of the barriers. Well, now it's unclear. And now look, she's right up against it. It's obvious how she pushes back. The radius of work is approximately what? Let's do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 probably blocks somewhere. In general, a pretty good barrier, like a flower. Then, there is such a very interesting flower in its work, called Ranuncarpus. Let's put it under it now. Right under it I'll put, let's say, oak planks. It doesn't matter what it will be, although it is important to you, but for understanding it is not important. Here in general, we remember there will be an oak board here, and now let's put here. Let's say this is the wall. I don't know what it is. A fence is such a small one made of oak boards. Now we throw a stone at him. Just let's say a stone. We can do any other blocks at all. And watch what happens. He puts the stone exactly on the boards, because there is a board under it. If we put a stone here, and throw oak planks here again, then he will put oak planks on the stone. Let's take a look at this. And now he's installing them. In general, this is how this flower works. The next flower is called a runicolor. We have already considered the fiery one. Now let's consider the ordinary one. I will put it up, and also, here, let's assume such a wall made of stone. Now, he will transform all this stone into various ores. The most common will be iron, coal, and the rarest are emeralds, diamonds, and the like. Well, look here, we have coal here now. Let's put more flowers. Let's put more flowers and also a stone, and look here, we have coal here now, coal for everyone. Will we have a diamond now or not? Now with iron. Yes. We have mostly coal and iron here, of course. The next flower is called a magnolio. This flower will completely block the work of the ring with magnetism. What is a ring of magnetism? We will be able to put on our rings, and then all the objects that we will have, in the form of a path, at all, will be attracted to us. But now if we put this flower, then this ring will not work in any way. Here you can see nothing is rising. By the way, this flower, which we have just reviewed, does not require mono. The next flower is called Spicrantium. Let's take him, and his work, by the way, is very interesting, because let's put him up now, and just look. We switch to the binding mode, poke the shifter plus the PCM, and now we bind it. Let's say it's somewhere here. But we did it, although I don't know if it's not far. Let's take a little closer. Let's say here. That's fine. Now we throw one iron ingot at him, let's say, and now we'll see what happens. He has to teleport it, and now he's moving here. Let's take another look at it. Throw it here. That's how many iron ingots, and yes, here they are teleporting. The radius of its operation is 12 blocks. The next flower is called a scary thorn. It's like a ringing spike, or whatever it was called, but the work is a little bit different. Let's put it on, and let's remember the cow. Look, the cow is dying, but the little calf is not dying. That is, he will kill only adults, and when our little calf grows up to a cow, then he will also die. The next flower is called tiger's eye, and this flower will work about the same as cats, but it will impose this effect on you. Look, I remembered now I'm going to go into survival mode as a creeper, and he's just running away from us. I'll remember another creeper, and he doesn't even want to explode, and immediately runs away, and quite far away. The penultimate flower is called Stupidly Miller, and with it you will be able to move various objects. And let's look at it carefully. We will have it blowing in one direction. In this case, we have it blowing in my opinion in that direction. Look, there are flying such very, very inconspicuous specks of dust, some gas accumulations, or what is it? In general, the wind flows. Let's throw a shot here now. And here you can see that it is moving, and as far as 10 blocks so exactly. How can we deploy it? We just make ourselves a functional mode and poke the shifter out of the PCM. Thus, we have it changing its direction already there. We throw a shot here, and here it blows there. And so we can twist in all 4 directions. And the last functioning flower is an exoplam. He will also need a zaptia, and we will consider it on the example of a stove. I'll put it on and put the stove on. I'll put iron ore in the stove, and let's see where we get the same fuel from. And our fuel is taken simply from mana. This flower will distribute this fuel, which it will process from mana into fuel, around itself in the stove. That is, look again, there is no fuel here, and everything works fine here. We can also put other stoves and load them too. Here's the iron, and here's the iron. All the stoves are working quietly. We continue to study our botany, and today, we will consider such a section called natural devices. As you can understand from the name, there will be various devices that will work from natural magic. By the way, there are quite a lot of them. Well, the first thing we will consider is an open box. Let's take it as well. I take a funnel and a lever to demonstrate its work. Next, let's make such a small hill, and here I will put an open box and a funnel on top, because there will be no way to feed resources into this box. And as you know, resources can be stored in the mailbox, but not here. Look, in general, let's put a lever on it here and activate it. Then, we go into the funnel and put, let's say, 64 turf there. Nothing happens. We press the lever, and now the turf begins to fall here alternately. This can be used in some mechanisms, for example, to feed the coals into the flame of the edge, which will be quite convenient. Let's say there is such a pressure plate, it makes a signal ration and delivers it here. The next device is an hourglass. We take them. I will also take sand, red sand, sand shower, mana powder, and distributor. Look, what is an hourglass? This is considered to be a timer that will give a signal at changes with a certain delay. How to set this delay? Just the same. It will depend on the sand that we put there, and how much we put there. Ordinary sand will give 1 second, respectively. If we put 64 sand, then more than 64 seconds. Red sand will give 10 seconds, but the shower sand will give 1 minute. And if we put 30,000 souls there, let's say, then we will have a delay of 30 minutes. And once every 30 minutes, it will give us a signal, and endlessly, well, that is, looped. Let's say we take 3 sands and poke the PCM. And look, 3 seconds pass, and he just turns over and gives a signal. This can be read using a regular redstone. Then let's say let's put 1 sand shower here, and here, we will have to wait for a whole minute, until it all pours over, and they turn over. Also in this hourglass, you can put mono powder. Depending on how many mono powders we have here, it will all be reflected in how many mana pulses it will need to give him. In general, let's take a look at it. Here, I put 1 mana powder here. Nothing happens. Nothing is sprinkled at all. Now let's put our distributor here, a pool at the back, and also a lever. Activate it. Look, 1 pulse passes here, and they turn over. If we put, let's say, not 1, but 3 powders here, then we have 1 pulse, then 2, and finally a third. And now everything will turn upside down. That's how it all works. The next one is also quite an interesting device, a lively torch. Let's take it for its demonstration. I will also take a red stone, an hourglass even, send for them. And we can also interact with it with the help of a regular mana distributor. Let's put this lively torch on the ground, and let's also put for red stone here, just to show his work. First of all, this is how he will lie with us, and if we click on him with a shift from the PCM, then he will simply turn around, and accordingly, the ration on which he looks will light up. Then we can put an hourglass over it, and let's say we make it a delay of 1 second, and look once a second. It will just turn around in this case, by 180 degrees. To change this, we make our staff a forest functional mode. And so here we have a turn, look, that is by 90 degrees, any of it will be random, and the switch will correspondingly be 180 degrees. And also, look with this torch here, it can be interacted with using, as I said, an ordinary mana distributor. To do this, let's make such a hill here. Let's say we put distributors here, point it at this torch, and now we will make mana for it from behind. So we have a little bit of it crashing here. So let's rebuild it all, and let's say we make a lever here. Everything is pressed. Look at the tuckmoney hanging, and turns over this torch. It can also be used in some mechanisms. The next very useful and interesting device is called a botanical cooking rack. Let's take her. Also, you will need bubbles to work, or you can use such flasks, but we will have more potions in them, and, accordingly, they will be more expensive to craft. What kind of potion is it that we are going to consider now? Also, to work with this rack, we will need mana and some ingredients in order to create various potions. What kind of potion? Let's go to the book. Then here's the botanical cooking rack, and look through it here. We have here just the same show all the crafts, and here, first of all, here we have such a speed in business, here is haste, then more strength and so on. Look, we have 2 variations, this is in a bubble and also in a flask. We will have 4 doses in the vial, and as many as 6 in the flask. But the flask, as I said, will be more expensive to craft. Well, there are also a lot of them here. There are still other crafts improved. This is a complex concoction. Here we describe more cool complex potions. Here, let's say strength 4, speed 3, weakness 2, and also gold and damage -8. Here, in general, it is necessary to calculate this whole thing. But let's put this botanical cooking rack. It looks very beautiful like this. It looks a little like a rune altar here, but the crafts here are completely different. Let's say I want to make a speed potion now. To do this, you will need to place one, or a bubble, or a flask here, just a duh, and then the ingredients. For speed, you will need a non-browser for growth, sugar, and also dust growth. Let's put them in as well, and now it will be necessary to apply mana here. It is served with the help of, let's say, a traffic police mana distributor. We poke like this. Now everything is being quickly crafted, and we get our potion for 4 doses, and the speed turns out to be 1.5 minutes. The same thing will happen, and Skull would, only as I said, craft will be much more expensive. Let's take a look at it, but there was how much? 2 shots, and now there are already 2 shots, 3 probably 4. And finally we got our flask. We can drink it and get our effect. We also have these incense sticks. These are like potions, only they will spray us on the contrary, so to speak. The effect is from themselves. That is, we will not apply them to ourselves. First of all, you will need to make such a blank. It will be considered as a flask or a bubble. And then, you put it on our cooking rack, and also all the ingredients. Here, I would even say probably 6 times more is spent here. And finally, you and I get a pneumatic wand, at speed 2, for as much as 90 minutes. But how is this all going to work? In order to activate it, because it is not active now, we can run with it, nothing happens. To do this, we will need to make such a special aromatic stove, and set fire to the whole thing. That is, look, we are putting this aromatic stove, poking it with an aromatic stick, so we install it here, and set it on fire here. And now look, here we have a speed of 2 superimposed on 90 minutes, it turns out that, but it's not us, but this wand will burn for 90 minutes. If we run away from here quite far, then the effect will be removed. Well, in general, here we have such cool potions and sticks here. Then, we have various drums. There is a drum of wildlife, collecting and also destroying the forest. All of them will work in our stationary mode, only for mana, which will be supplied to them, with the help of a mana distributor. Let's take a look at it. Let's say we fly somewhere here. Here, I think, that it will be fine to put the first wildlife, then the fees and also the destruction of the forest, and we'll feed them all. The first reel is of the wild. Let's activate it and see what happens. He will just break all the grass around him. Here we go again. We even have such an impulse, so to speak, a kick on the drum, and here the grass breaks a little bit here, and that's about his radius of work is like this here. Next, we have a drum. This is a drum gathering. He will collect sheep wool from us. Well, that is, it will just fall out on the floor, and will also collect milk from cows. If we have an empty bucket lying nearby, let's try it now. Let's say we have a cow, there is an empty bucket here, and we press the lever. Come on, mana is flying, and for some reason, by the way, nothing is going to happen, although it should be according to plan. Let's give our cow a little push. And so it turned out. Milk is collected, and also, all the sheep that would be here, all of them would just lose their wool, they would become bald. And finally, the drums destroy the foliage. Let's activate it, and what will it do there? Probably will break the foliage. And so it is. Look here, we have foliage there nearby. It breaks. About the same as grass. The next natural device is the Eye of the Ancients. Also quite an interesting thing. To check it, we will need a comparator, redstone dust, and also any animal. It is an animal, not a monster. Let's put the Eye of the Ancients, a comparator to it, and let's take away such a traditional signal from the comparator. Let's remember one cow here, nothing happens. Let's recall the second one. Here a signal appears in 1 unit. Let's recall the third one. Now the signal is in 2 units. The fourth. Now the signal is 3 units, and so on it will be. In general, this Eye of the Ancients will be a detective of all living beings, not counting any monsters, but they are not alive, and, accordingly, it is through the comparator that they signal here. Then, there is such an interesting block, called the abstruse platform. This is a very simple block of your understanding. Look here, I'll put it up, and try to go through it. Everything is going great, but if I stand on it, then we will really stand on it. If I click on the shift, then I will fall and be right in it. I will be able to get out the truth. And what's also very cool, we can remake it into any other blocks. Let's say we have turf, and now this turf will have the same properties as the platforms, only different textures. Here we can pass through here and also stand and fall. This can be used in some secrets. The next very interesting device is the cocoon of life. What is the cocoon of life? After a while, an animal like a cow, sheep, pig or chicken will hatch out of it with a 90% chance and a 5% chance that a wolf, an ocelot and a horse will hatch. But if we poke Horus at this cocoon, then there will be a 5% chance that a shocker will hatch out of it. And if we come here 20 times like this, then we will have a 100% chance that a shocker will hatch. That is, here we poke, 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 and here we have poked like this 20 times, and now a shocker will hatch here 100%. And if we rub emeralds like that 20 times, then there will be a 100% chance that it will hatch a small inhabitant. And by the way, it is small variations of animals and also residents that will hatch, but not counting the shocker, because we only have an adult shocker. The next very interesting destructive block is called We Are on a Storm Charge. Let's take it, and to activate it, we will need any bundle of mana. And let's fly away somewhere, because there will really be such a powerful explosion. Let's say somewhere in the swamp to Shrek. So, we put our Mono Assault Charge. Now we put a distributor here, a Mono Pool, and activate the whole thing. Here it breaks down, such a big beam appears, and everything begins to collapse. It will be true, not quite right, a very big explosion, naturally not like from a nuclear bomb, but still also very unpleasant, and quite long-lasting, because you can see that we have nothing running out here yet, and it will only grow, it becomes more and more. Just really very, very huge like this, it will become, and eventually explode, and fire will appear here. Right now, you can see that it is getting bigger and bigger. The next two useful blocks are the alchemical catalyst, and also the witchcraft catalyst. These catalysts will only work with pools of mana. Let's take them. They will need to be placed exactly under the pool of mana, so we will have an alchemical one on the left, and a witchcraft one on the right. And look, let's say in alchemy, you can transform rotten flesh into skin just for mana. I think it's pretty cool. And in witchcraft, you can exactly double any items, but the truth is that they are described in this book. That is, let's say this stone, light dust and so on. Let's try to do it. We throw one speck of dust, we are given 2. That is, I have got 4 and 1 extra. Pretty cool. Next, I would like to tell you about such a section called Charles Mana Overlay. Here, it will be necessary to build such a large structure. Let's visualize it. For construction, you will need 17 obsidian, a lapis lazuli block, 10 of any mystical colors, 6 pylons, and in general everything. Obsidians are placed as follows. Then, there is a lapis lazuli block. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 flowers. Here again, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 flowers. And finally, we put mana pylons over them. And what will she do? Let's take a look at it. First of all, you will need to activate it using the functional mode. We poke the PCM here, and that's it. Now our entire structure is absolutely in working order. What can we do here again? We can enchant any items here that are charmed at all. I don't use books. True, we will need books as samples, but they will not disappear from us in any way. Let's say, we enchant this sword for repair, and also sharpness 5. To do this, we put a sword here, throw a repair and also a sharpness into this circle. So for some reason, the repair didn't work out for me. Well, let's say let's string the recoil too, and now it will be necessary to somehow organize the mana supply here. We will do this with the help of sparks. Here is a spark, and also let's say, here is a pool, and here is a spark. Now we poke the PCM with the functional mode for this block, and see what happens. We're starting to get charmed. Mana is flying here. Mana is also flying there. Everything is very beautiful. And now soon we will receive our enchanted sword, and the books will not go anywhere. Then, such a pentagram takes off, and literally inhabits this sword. All with such a cool sound, we get an enchanted sword, we can pick it up, and also here they are our books. Here, by the way, we have a fix, and the fix was probably just invisible, sharpness, and also recoil. And in this way you can enchant any objects that are in general enchanted here. Let's say the armor is there, weapons, tools, and so on. The next interesting block is the desecrated pumpkin. Let's take it, and also take 2 iron rods. A desecrated pumpkin will look like this, and it doesn't seem to have any of its properties. But if we put it on 2 iron rods in this way, and now we put a pumpkin on top, it appears in spoles. Pretty expensive craft, but if we kill him now, then there is a chance that quite a lot of fire powder will fall from him. Note not the rods. Let's try to kill him again. And even I once knocked out about 20 of these fire powders here. Now we have 10. In general, the chances are small, but still sometimes it can be useful. Next, I would like to say that you can use manda pylons not only in any structures, but also even instead of bookshelves. Let's put a magic table, and in the block at this magic table, I will put 1 mana pylon. Now we go into it, and here we have the maximum level of the 16th, we put another 2nd, and here the maximum level is now the 30th, that is, in general, the maximum that can be in Minecraft. And this is the cheap way you can organize your bookshelves. Next, let's look at the assembly box. For him, I will also take these crafting templates. Let's say this is the 6th one, which is x3, and also the 2nd one, which is 2 by 2. I also take a funnel to load various items, in this case boards. And I'll also take these placeholders here by the collector. What is an assembly box? It's like an automatic workbench, only it's a little more complicated to work with. Look, here we also have, in my opinion, his work is described in the book. Everything is shown very well in the picture. Now, if we serve various items into it, then the first item will fall here, to this place of crafting, the 2nd here, the 3rd here, respectively, Then here we serve an empty one in this case. This placeholder turns out to be that of this crafter. This means an empty place, then a stick here. The 6th is empty too, the 7th is empty. The 8th is a stick and the 9th is empty. As a result, we get a pickaxe here. But also, if we have various templates here that facilitate this whole thing, we can put, let's say, such a 6th template, which is 3 by 1. Thus, these slots are blocked here. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd remain. And now, if we serve here, let's say with the help of a funnel, 1, 2, 3 boards, immediately we are crafting. And the craft that we laid out here will spit out from below, namely 6 oak slabs. If we want to, let's say here, we make a pressure plate made of wood on this crafter, but here we have 3 slots as you can see. Then we throw here 1, 2 boards, and here is a placeholder collector. As a result, we also spit out the whole thing, together with the filler, and get an oak pressure plate. Well, that's how it works. Next, let's consider such a spectral platform. It is very similar to the one we considered before. I don't remember what it was called anymore. That's for a smart platform, but it has some other property, namely, it simply cannot be located on it. It will be immediately so intangible, you can't even get up from above. We can also change the textures for it, and in general it's the same as it was before. Suddenly look at it even in our dark. That is, in fact, it is air with textures. The next thing we will consider is spectral rails. Let's take rails and a trolley here, and see what spectral rails are. I will build it here, and also here. After some distance, let's put a continuation of this line. And what will happen if we let the trolley go here? Well, we push it and look, it literally takes off, and should fall on the rails at all, but something went wrong, and it flew over a little. Let's do it again. Oop, let her in. Here it takes off, and finally falls on these rails. It will also pass quietly through the walls. If we have such a big wall here, and we let this trolley go here, and look, it flies right through the blocks here. Then, there is a totem from life by a tree. With this totem, you can use various staffs without holding them in your hands. That is, look, here we have the stats. We are a tree of life. We give him, let's say, the rod of hell. By the way, the list of wands is also described in the book. We can read here, this is the wand of heaven, hell, and also the mage. In this case, I gave him the rod of hell. Then see that he works. He will need to be fed mana with the help of a distributor. In this way, here it is already being transmitted, and so that it has already begun to use this rod. It will just have to remember the creepers here. Look, we'll remember them here. And so a fire is created with the help of this rod, and they burn in it. Well, this is how you will have a wooden friend in your solo survival. And finally, the last item from this section is Terra. It's a very interesting name, but let's see what it is. If you put this doll in the world, let's say there will be dolls, then the length of the rain will decrease, and also the purity of the rain will be less. You will have it go less often, and if it goes, it will go much less. But we can also summon rain with the help of the Terra. To do this, you will need to give a blue orchid, and here we do not have a 100% chance, of course. We just poke, and now rain will be called. Come on, something is not being called for everything. Here, finally called up. Terra Bosa has changed his mood for us. Here you can see it's sad with this glass, and it's raining. But we can also remove it with the help of a sunflower. Poke the PCM, and also with some chance the rain will be removed. That's all. Now the weather has become clear, and the Terra Bose has become so cheerful again. Consider the following section called Mystical Objects. Some tabs, such as armor from old steel, we have come from element, and some others we are already considering, so I will not tell you about them again. And the first item that we will consider is called the mass binding rod. Let's take him. I also take hydrangea water and spread estuaries for demonstration in the works. Look, there are cases when you have a lot of flowers, and so you put a new mana distributor, and how to tie them all up quickly. Not just like that without poking very many times, but you can just make a mass binding rod like this. Poke the PCM shift on this distributor, and here you can see that we are establishing connections here. And every flower is now tied to this distributor. They can also be bandaged, let's say to this, and now everyone is tied to it. The next item is called, rather oddly, the astrolabe of the creator of the world. Let's take it and some building blocks. See, this gizmo will make it much easier for us to build. Let's say we take such a block and click Shift plus PCM on it. Now we take it as a sample, so to speak, and we will use them in construction. Look here, we have here now stands out here is such a visualization of 3 by 3. If we look at it from a slightly different angle, only vertical ones are made 3 by 3. We can also change the whole thing. Poke the shift with the PCM through the air. Here are 5 by 5, 7 by 7, 9 by 9, and a maximum of 11 by 11. I'll leave it 3 by 3. And look, we just poke the PCM on the ground, and 9 blocks are installed in this case of polished andesite. By the way, this will only work if you have a mana tablet charged. We can also do it vertically, let's say so, or even increase the radius. In general, it is quite a useful item for mass construction. Then, there are 2 new items at once, a circular workbench, and automatically a circular workbench. They are quite similar, so let's look at them right away. Look, if I take a circular workbench in my hand, then we have such a hologram. There will be a workbench in the middle of it. We poke the PCM here and do some crafting. Let's say I want to make semi-blocks. Here we take them, and now, in each of these slots, we can bring half-block crafting. Let's say this way, then we'll do I don't know. Let's have some more sticks. We'll put the sticks here. Let's say there are steps like this and steps here. Now when we want to craft something quickly, we just take this circular workbench and poke, let's say, on sticks. And we are adding sticks to the inventory. Look here. At the same time, boards are spent. Now let's look at the automatically circular workbench. We can also craft everything in it. Let's make sticks again. I will now put all the items in the course of the bar. Let's say I choose to craft sticks here and remove this item from my hands. And look, now I have all the sticks crossed. My boards fly away and sticks appear. We can also remove the automatic crafting by pressing the Shift PCM, and then if we remove this thing from our hands, we will not craft anything. Then there are two new weapons. This is a spike chakra and also a flashing chakra. Let's also take creepers to check the whole thing on them. Look, let's say we have two creepers, and first let's shoot the spike chakra. He has 20 HP, and now how much will he have left? He missed a little bit, will still scatter. Here are 12 HP demolished and inflicted by poisoning. As a result, 2 additional HP units are demolished. By the way, they will return with time. So here you can see they flew back to me. There is also a flashing chakra. If we shoot at the creeper now, then it will be superimposed not by poisoning, but by gorenge, and will be demolished for how long? For units. Yes, for units. A total of 16. An ordinary spike has 14. Now let's look at all the staffs in this mod. The first one is the Rod of Hell. With the help of this rod, you could have already seen before, we can create such a fiery circle that will house everyone. Look here, we have now such a characteristic sound and Fritz, and now, unfortunately, we have creepers just running away from here. But you can see that they are set on fire in it. Quite a cool thing, especially against the crowd. The next rod is called the Bivrist Rod. With this wand, you can first make a very cool glass, with which you can eventually make a fabulous pool of mana. To do this, you will need an elven glass, and this staff. Connect the whole thing, and get a Bivrist block. It looks like this, very nice, and it can be used in crafting. And also, with the help of this rod, you can make bridges like this. And in this case, I'll do a little crooked. Let's do it up. Look. Now you will be able to understand very far in this way. However, these bridges are not eternal, and over time, they will simply disappear. Well, that is, you can both make a bridge up and down. The next wand is called the Wand of the Mage. With this wand, you will be able to notice various ores. Let's say I'll put gold here. Let's say iron. And we also have ore underground there. We poke the PCM, and now we have time. Here we are now seeing gold ores. Iron ore, by the way, for some reason is not very visible, and in my opinion, it is not even visible at all, but so underground, you can also see a large number of lights, they just point to these ores. But by the way, now the iron is visible. These lights of various colors, they just mean that they are behind the rooted. Then, there is the Rod of the Volcanic Core. With this wand, you can melt blocks such as sand into glass, oddly enough, and also a beligo, let's say, into a stone first, and then into a polished or rather smooth stone. Well, you can do the same with all the other blocks that are melting like this. Then comes the Rod of Lands. With the help of a rod too, you will be able to set the ground. Yes, it's not needed for anything else. Just put one block of land, and essentially nothing. But you can improve this wand to a high-altitude wand, and now it becomes more useful. Or even less useless, more precisely even to say. Look, in general, you can also bet on the ground, and oddly enough, into the air. Look like this, literally without touching anything. You can now put blocks of earth. And let's say build yourself such a bridge and jump, I don't know where it may come in handy, but I think you will find a use. Then comes the Wand of the Seas. With this wand, you can create blocks of water. Let's say here we have such a mine and up. I poke the PCM, one block of water is created, and with it you can fill, let's say, some small tank. Or just don't carry buckets of water with you, but just take a wand with you and use mana to make water. Then, the Rod of Heaven. With this wand, you can just soar high like that. True, you are not always a duh. It has a recharge. And when he has to recharge, you will not receive damage from falling. That is, look, here he has a recharge now, it's still going on, and I'm not getting any damage. It takes off somewhere, well, on a block of 20, probably a dash of 30. Then the rod is exchanged. This wand is very similar to the exchange knob from Towncraft for more point 2, according to my versions. Well, in general, look what we can do. Let's say we choose an object on which we will replace. It will be let the earth. And now we are focusing on another material. Let's say now I poke a stone with a PCM, and all this stone changes to the ground. This turf itself will be taken from the inventory. Here's another thing we can change here. let's say this whole gravel can also be changed. In general, it's a pretty handy staff. We can also change everything, and let's say change it and so on. Then, the rod of the black mass. With this wand, you will now be able to master telepathy, and see what to literally do. I clamp the PCM on the resident, and he takes off. I literally somehow keep him at the same distance as before he was to me. Now if I press then it will just fly away like that. Let's try it again. Well, here it's taking off. We can just lift the OP up, and push the cam, so that it just flies up. In general, it's quite an interesting wand. And the resident, by the way, died. Then, the rod of the depths. With this wand, you can simply create blocks of cobblestone and nothing else. The penultimate rod is called the unstable energy rod. This is a very, very cool wand, with which you can create literally such small lightning bolts, and they will kill everyone. I clamp the PCM, and look at these little sparks. Some lightning flies at creepers, and kills everyone very fast. And finally, the last wand is the terraformer wand. In my opinion, it is the most useful, because with it you will be able to level the territory. Not only raise the level, but also lower it. Let's say you're watching. Let's turn it off further away. There's no spoiling the territory. Here, I want to level the territory at this level. Just clamp the PCM and see what happens. We have a higher level where it was too small, and a lower level where it was too big. Literally all the mountains are being demolished, by the way, except for Ruth, which is cool. We can now get them with the help of luck. Look, let's say we have water here, and now everything is going to be built up here. The truth is that a huge amount of mana is consumed here, and the work is also very cool. And here, in literally 20 seconds, I probably leveled such a territory here. It remains only to cut down the trees. That's it, we finished with the wands, and now we move on to the next subject. It's a mana emitter. Also take Let's Bossel mana to show how it works, and you can also add such a lens clip to it, and you can put lenses on it. First of all, what is a mana emitter? He will spend mana from our inventory, and you will be able to shoot it like this. There will be no damage, but here's a pretty effect. And you can also transport mana a little bit. That is, here you shoot, let's say, into a pool of mana, and this mana is transferred there. A small amount is true, but still also cool. You can also put any lens on this emitter. Let's say here is the speed. Let me do it. Now you can see even the texture has changed, and the mana has started to fly faster. And finally, you can also put a lens clip on it. And now you can put up to 5 lenses on this pistol. Only to do this, you will first need to remove the previous one. You press PCM, so she took off, fit into the clip, so to speak, and now you can put on the next lens. Let's say there are flashes. We did it. We can also take it off. Now we do the following. This is resistance. Well, let's say 3 is enough for us. Then now we have resistance. We press the cipher from the PCM, and we will have speed. Here, we shoot with speed, and finally let's assume a flash. A flash is created. Where is she, by the way? Here it is. Then, there is a very interesting device called the Earth Smasher. When you craft it, it will be practically useless, because we will have a very good mana supply. With the help of an eternally filled pool of hell in my case, because there will really need a lot of mana. You just throw it here. By the way, you can use furs. Well, let's try it now from this side, from this side, from this and from this. By the way, this pickaxe doesn't want to be charged for some reason. Apparently it's some kind of bug on the creative side. But in general, everything will definitely be fine in your survival, and in the end, you will be able to pump the next levels of this pickaxe. Here we have the rank of D, the smallest, then the rank of C, B, C, and finally, CC is the coolest. What do these ranks give? They will give you very cool things. Namely, this is the digging radius. Let's take the coolest pickaxe now, and just show what will be going on with us in general. Let's say there is such a rock. I'll go into survival mode, and just start breaking. Nothing happens. Now I click in the PCM, and start breaking. We look at what's going on, and we dig just a huge mine here. A lot of resources immediately fall out. Here we have a radius of probably. How much? Let's do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and also probably somewhere 10 in height. In general, the radius is really huge. If you still use that ring, I don't remember what it's called, Loki or not. In general, the very ring that will increase the digging radius of this earthcrasher, then it will generally be just a cannon. Also, you can combine this earthbreaker together with a pickaxe from the element, and thus you will not drop a cobblestone at all. This can be useful in some cases, if you have a lot of cobblestones, and you just need to dig and pick it up. And there is also such a stone of abstinence. You can activate it, and now go to dig, let's say, mines with an activated pickaxe. And let's see what happens. And radioscopy will become much smaller, which can be useful. By the way, now you can see that no cobblestone falls out now, because our pickaxe has been improved with an elementium pickaxe. Next, consider 2 viruses. The first one is called necrodermal, and the second one is called nalodermal. You can only impose these viruses on your horses that are tamed, so let's do it now. Everything is done. Let's put a necrodermal on this one, and it turns into a zombie horse, which will have 36 HP maximum. And now let's look at this 20 HP, and become a skeleton. Now the maximum number is 52 HP, which is pretty cool. Yes, these more textures are such unusual steel. Next, let's consider such and such clothes made of monofabric. It will give a little armor. Here is 1, 2, 2, and also 1. But look what will happen with this. Reducing the cost of Mana 4 tools by as much as 35%, and also increases the level of mastery of magic wands. In other words, they will become much more efficient. And let's see what it looks like. And these are her very beautiful textures, literally some kind of robe and also a hood or something. Yes, it's really some kind of hood. There is also such a seed of peace. See what happens if you press the PCM while holding it in your hand. You just teleport to the point of the world spawn. That is, I appeared here when I created the world, and now if I'm further than 24 blocks from here, then I'll just teleport here if I eat this 7. Come on, and this is where we teleport to. Then, there is also a very interesting item called a fragment of Laputa Island. He has several levels at once. Here, we have the first one is the strength of the fragment, 1, and the maximum is 20. Radius 14, there's 33. What is it? Let's first look at how to improve them. You first craft this shard, and then improve it with the help of Guy's spirit. That's so many times, and so you can lap up to the whole 20th level. Let's see what the 20th level is. It will be necessary to fly away from here, so as not to spoil the view for you on the guides, and then we will activate it there. Well, let's say somewhere here. I'm going to fall down and hit the PCM on the ground. What's going on? Some kind of sound and what? We look around. Oops, look. Here we have some rays, even start to freeze a little. And now we see there is literally some kind of island being built in the sky. The Earth is taken from here and moves about 30 blocks up. In general, this fragment moves a piece of land up, creating an island, and even the ores are moving there. In general, everything is everything that was there. True, we will have to wait a little bit here, because the island will be large, but let's not do this yet and move on. Then, there will be 3 horns at once. This is the Rock of the Wild, the Rock of the Destruction of Foliage, and also a shelter. We have considered the drums before, and in general it is the same, only portable. Let's now clamp down on the PCM of wildlife, and we just break the grass around. By the way, it's free in my opinion, if I'm not mistaken. Even Mana is not needed here. Come on. Yes, she's not needed here. Then the destruction of foliage. The foliage breaks, but the rock of the shelter will break the snow. Next comes the glass pickaxe. This pickaxe will be very similar to the silk touch charm, only it will break only with glass. That is, let's say, if you want to break the ore, you will not succeed and even nothing will fall out. But look, the glass breaks perfectly here. And by the way, the pickaxe itself does not break at all. Then there is an item called the enchantment removal cloth. Oddly enough, with the help of this fabric, you can remove any enchantment. Simply connect it with the object of removing the enchantment in the workbench, and get, in this case, a diamond sword without enchantment. And also, the fabric breaks a little. There are 35 uses in total. Then consider the shaped sextant. With this thing, you can finally build normal circles in Minecraft, when before it was either very difficult, or you didn't understand how to build at all, or you had to go somewhere to the site. In general, it was really somehow incomprehensible. Well, now you can craft this thing, and just clamp the PCM from the potential circle. Now take it a little to the side, you write the radius of the circle, 4, 5, 6. And so even here you can make 100, 200, thousands of truth will not work anymore. Well, let's say we want to make a 5, and that for some reason nothing stands out, it's so strange. Here everything stood out perfectly. Radius 5, even written on top. And that's how it will be necessary to build on these blocks, and then you will succeed perfectly. If you make a slightly larger radius, let's say 10 or 12 even, then the circle will be more round. Here, even if you fly straight away, you may not even distinguish. Next comes the ball of the vine, and together with it, we will consider a slingshot from the life of a tree. Look, you can throw a ball of vine, let's say, somewhere on a tree here. Here we throw it here, and look, such a vine is created. It is unusual. As you know in Minecraft you can pass through a vine, but not through this one. You will immediately figure it out upstairs, literally like a ladder. And in general, these are all the properties of this hole. If you throw it on the ground, then nothing will happen. Well, look around also with a slingshot and a tree. It allows us to throw these vine balls, just without taking into account gravity. That is, if you point directly at this block, then you will rush right at this block, and if you throw a hole at this block, then it will fly a little lower. And in the end here you can see I was aiming here, and the balloon flew here. In short, this slingshot just breaks physics. And the last item on this list is an extrapolated bucket. What is it? This is a bucket into which you will never be able to take any liquid. It will just destroy everything. That is, look here, our water evaporates. If now we make a tank like this here, and take all this water away. Then it just won't stay here, and it will disappear from this world. A pretty cool bucket. If you need to drain some large volume like this, don't pour anything out of the buckets every time. Just craft this bucket and drain everything. We move on to the next section called trinkets and accessories. In it, as you can guess, there are various accessories and jewelry. That is, these are rings. There are all sorts of robes, amulets, belts, and the like. Let's start with the most useless, but at the same time, it's also fun for you. We have a variety of accessories here. Let's say it's a tie. Here's a witch's badge. There are also released eyes, and, for example, masks and potatoes. Let's see in general what it is and how it looks like. We go into our costume jewelry, and let's say we have a tie that looks like this. Then a witch icon, also here you can see on my chest. Then released eyes, together the eyes have changed a little, and also a potato mask. So let's take my eyes off. That's how she looks cool. All this does not give any effects, only visual. There is also a case for trinkets. Let's take it, and what can we put in it? Oddly enough, various trinkets. It is very convenient to store them here. But then we move on to functional things. The first is a monocle. With it, you will be able to see mana flows through the walls, and also a redstone charge. Let's put it on also all in costume jewelry. Here's the place it is. I don't know exactly what kind of place it is, most likely what kind of pendant is there. In general, let's take a look at the redstone now, and here you can see now we have a 0 signal here. If we take the lever, activate it, there will be a signal 15, 14, and so on to 0. Quite convenient. And also let's look at the transfer of mana. That is, look here, we have a pool again, there is an empty pool, and let's make a wall, and literally through it, we see all the mana flows. Then there are such raincoats. There is a cloak of virtue to sins, balance, and finally, the cloak of invisibility. They are all very cool, and let's take a look at them. The first is the cloak of virtues. It will block all the damage that will come to you, and it looks like this. It's as if we are somehow small, or the cloak is too big. Although, even if you stand up like that, it may be fine. As if such a great potato is flying here. The next cloak is the cloak of sins. It works as follows. Let's say we are dealt 2 damage, and the same amount of damage, that is, 2 will be inflicted on the creature, or the person who inflicted the damage on us. That is, it will be as if we will take damage, and the attack will also be reflected. Then the cloak and balance. It looks like this. And now, if we are dealt 2 damage, then only 1 damage will pass, and also 1 damage will pass to the attacker. And finally, the invisibility cloak. This cloak will make us simply invisible, and endlessly. But, there is one condition that you have mana in your inventory. Next, let's consider such a ring of agile maneuver. It dresses oddly enough, in place of the rings. And now what can we do? And now we can make such passages. I press forward twice, and we move a little bit fast like that. Let me do better F5, let's do it twice to the left. Up, and we're just flying a little bit, literally a block to the right, and we can also go back. True, there is such a small recharge here, and you will not be able to go straight into memory like that. But it's pretty cool, if you have some kind of arrow flying, and you can dodge so quickly. Next, consider such a bloody pendant. It will only be used on the botanical cooking rack, and it should be used instead of bubbles. And let's say that you can get such a bloody pendant at speed 2. Well, and also for other effects. It works as follows. You put it on the place of the pendant, and now the effect is superimposed on you. And infinite, well, more precisely depends on your mana. In this case, I have a creative mana tablet, so there will be infinite mana, and accordingly, an infinite effect. You can make yourself, let's say, a pendant of some kind for strength, or for other cool effects. It will be really very convenient. Then, there are as many as 2 amulets. The first amulet is a feathery cloud, and the second is a halo. They differ from us, in that the first amulet will give you a double jump, that is up 1, 2. And the third one will give you a triple jump, that is 1, 2 and also 3. And the second one, by the way, is also being crafted from the first one, only it is still being improved, with the help of the spirit of the traffic police. Then, there are 2 cool pendants. The first one is a first-class pendant, and the second one is much cooler. It's a crimson pendant. The first one will just shoot you Gorenge effect, if you are not in the fire and not in the water. In other words, let's check it out now. Here, we are going to have lava like this. I'm going into survival mode. Here you can see we are doing damage, and I unfortunately died, because I had very little HPM. Okay, let's fix it quickly now. So take 2. In short, this is where damage is inflicted on me, and if I get out of the lava, then the burning simply stops. Gorenge, but the next crimson pendant in general, will completely protect you from fire, and from lava, and from Gorenge. That is, look here, I can just fit into the lava, and calmly be here and swim. So, let's get out of the lava now, and now I will immediately stop burning. In short, a very cool pendant. Next, comes the Great Fairy Ring. It will increase the chance of summoning Pixum. That is, you can put on armor, let's say everything from the element, then another sword, and finally a ring. And then, you will have a very big chance to summon pixies. Let's try it now. Let's say a zombie, and I don't know now it will turn out. No, and yes, Here, a pixie is summoned by some chance, which causes damage to them. True, it was not visible now, but still they were. Then there is such an inspector. With the help of such a bandage, you will be able to see what is in the chests, or rather find the item you need. Let's say, look, I'm going to put the staff of the forest right here. Now I take the staff of the forest in my hand, and this chest is highlighted, because there is the same object there. You can thus find, let's say, some diamonds, that is, take a diamond in your hand, and you will see in which chest there will be a diamond. Next, consider two whole rings. The first is an aura ring, and the second is a large aura ring. These rings will generate mana for you. The first one, of course, will generate less passively, but the second one will already be much more. Therefore, I advise you to do it right away like this. A large mana ring just needs to be improved with the help of a terastali ingot. You make it, take yourself an empty mana tablet, and it will gradually recharge. Then, there is the ring of distant wealth. It's a ring. Let's see now how far we can stretch out our hand. Look, now we will have a block of land allocated at this distance. Now let's step back. He's not standing out right now. And now we put on this ring, and it stands out. We can break it. We can even find something else. And finally, how much do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When before we could only reach it from this distance, and now we can at least break it here. Then, there is such a useful ring correction. It will change the tools in our hand depending on what we break. Let's say I put it on now, go into survival mode, and want to break the grass with a pickaxe. We are changing the whole thing to a shovel, and now we can break the ground calmly. Let's say I want to break a baliga, and immediately change to Kirkuzman steel. But here the condition is that you must have items made of mana steel element, or terra steel. That is, those items that spend mana. Two more rings are the ring of magnetism, and the improved ring of magnetism. They will attract the whole world to you, but they will differ in the radius of action. The improved magnetism ring will naturally work better in the future. So let's put it on now and check it out. Let's say here's a throwing ring of magnetism. I fly away and look now how this whole thing will work. And here, it is attracted to me. And even here I take off, and it still catches up with me. Here's a very convenient ring that will literally help you attract the whole world around. Then, there is the cordal ring. This ring will be very useful if you are often in the water. Let's assume now that I'm going to dive somewhere here, and look at the effects that will be superimposed on me now. Well, dive into the water. That's right, I don't have a mana tablet. That's all the mana tablet I took for myself, and now the following is superimposed on us. This is the grace of Delphini, also the power of the source. In other words, you and I are becoming this type of fish. When leaving the water, these buffs will be removed. Then there is the ring minor. As soon as we put this ring on ourselves, we will be in a hurry, and endless. Well, more precisely, not directly infinitely. It will depend on your mana. In this case, it is infinite, and an unusual rush, and a rush of 2. And now you will be able to dig much faster. Let's see how it will roughly look like. That is, this is how you will dig with an invisible pickaxe, and rush 2. Then there is a pendant with a snowflake. This pendant will freeze all the water, and also turn everything into snow under you. Well, more precisely, to generate such a small snow. Let's see now how the water will freeze. It will not freeze forever, but will eventually unfreeze when we fly away from here. Quite a convenient pendant for traveling, let's say on the seas, or to generate snow where you simply don't have it. Then, there are as many as 3 belts. The first is the Wanderer's Belt, then it goes to the Ushikev and the Pilgrim's Step on the horse-drawn tram. Consider the first belt as a wanderer. It will give you a slight acceleration, which you will not see here, but in fact, it will be present. Also, now you will jump 2 blocks high, and there will be a little less damage from falling. The next sash is accelerating. It will already work for us, so gradually, when we run, we will eventually gain more and more speed. When we stop running, then this speed will decrease. But look, you can notice right now how I'm starting to run faster and faster. Right now, acceleration is really visible. Well, let's get up like this, walk around a little, and start running again. And our speed dropped again. And finally, the Pilgrim's Sash. This is a very cool belt. First of all, it gives a very good acceleration. Here you can see right how probably speed 2. Then we will be able to jump to a height of as many as 3 blocks, not 2. And naturally, the fall damage will also become less. Next, let's consider such a microplanet, and a microplanet in the form of a block. We put a microplanet on ourselves. Now look what she's going to do. We will create a bundle of mana with the help of a distributor. Come on. And now we're looking at what's going on. Mana seems to spit out, but it immediately flies to us and will circle right over our head. Here you can see, and in principle, this is all the property of this microplanet. There is also in the form of a block, which is slightly adjusted and a block is obtained. Now, we are releasing mana here, and this mana will circle around this block. In general, an absolutely useless thing. Then the amulet of the merciful goddess. We put it on, and now all the explosions that will happen around us will simply be destroyed. That is, look now the awnings will explode, we will be thrown back a little, but there will be no destruction. There will also be creepers and other bombs. Then there is the tectonic belt. With the help of it, a huge effect of resistance to rejection will be imposed on us. Let me put it on myself now, and let's say I close the spiders on myself. He will be dominating us a little, but look, he won't push us away. The truth is going to kill me now, but let me show you anyway. Here I don't push in any way, only literally when he presses so close to me. Then yes, there is a little repulsion. It's all because no matter how he pushes me, it's not damage. But the push that will cause damage simply will not pass to us. Next, consider this third area. With it, you will be able to see hostile mobs through the blocks. To do this, let me put it on myself now. That's how it looks, very cool by the way, and literally look, we have caves there. We see zombies, creeper, even a skeleton. The radius of your work is probably about 20 blocks. That is, look, I fly away and they disappear. In fact, it is a very convenient thing to search for, let's say, some spawners. And finally, the last item on this list is the Diva Charm. This is a very interesting amulet. Let's put it on ourselves and summon a spider and also a zombie. Look, now I'm going to go into survival mode and hit this spider. He is fascinated by us. Now he will protect us from zombies. Come on. And for some reason, he doesn't want to attack him, although he should. It finally worked. In short, I charmed this spider, and the zombie that I attacked, he attacked. Only the truth won, because the spider was weaker. Let's take another look at this. Well, here we have a zombie. We attack the spider, and look, he immediately attacks this zombie. Naturally, this can be used not only with such weak mommy, but with some stronger one. Let's say from other mods. And finally, we are moving on to the last section in this book. These are the artifacts of the Ender world. As the name implies, there will be various items associated with the otherworldly Ender world. The first thing we'll look at is the basic component in this section, and it's called an Ender air bubble. How to get it? You will need to take yourself usually bottles and go to the edge. Here I am now just poking the PCM through the air and getting these bubbles with Ender air. This way you can arrange them for yourself and return home. What are these bubbles for? Firstly, for crafting, and secondly, you can now do the following. Let's say you find yourself a stone, here's a lot of stone, and just throw this bubble with Ender's air into this stone, and it turns out to be an Endernyek. This way, you can even get an Endernyek without going to the end, although if there is a different craft of these bottles. Next, consider the talisman of a black hole. I'll take it, and take, let's say, a cobblestone. Look, this talisman of a black hole is created in order to put together an unlimited number of one type of blocks. Let's say like a boulder. Because when you dig a lot, as you know the cobblestone, it also drops out a lot. It clogs up your inventory. How will you need to make this whole cobblestone fit into this talisman? Just approach the cobblestone and hold the talisman in your hands and poke the PCM. Thus, it stands out for you, and now you will need to activate this talisman. Just poke the PCM air, and that's it. It activated and took all the cobblestone into itself. Here it is now 64. We can also put it, and it disappears, and all this fits into this talisman. And then you can come home and do the following. Turn off this talisman, place it on the workbench, and get your whole cobblestone. Next, let's look at a very interesting thing, such as MA systems only in Botany. Almost every fashion already has it, and Botany is also no exception. Here, you will need a storage spark, the main storage spawn, and the storage index, a chest, and also any items for this. This is all you need for the most minimal, least functional storage. Let's take all of this and let's look at it. First of all, you will need to put a chest. It will store everything that we put in this repository. Above the chest, you will need to become exactly the spark storage, not the main spark, because the main spark will not be able to function together with the chest in any way. That is, just a chest will be useless. The chest can only interact with the spark storage. Let's put one more spark, let's say, and let's put a third one here. That's what we get. They are not connected with us in any way yet. What should I do to link them? You will need to make one main spark storage and put it somewhere. It will be placed either on the chest, but then it will not be on the chest in any way. That is, look, I'm going to put it now. Everything is connected here, of course, but we can't interact with it in any way yet. So let me break it down and put the storage index. Let's say I'll put it somewhere right here and place the main spark storage on it. See all the connections we have established and what this index is for. The index is needed so that when we approach it, such sparks appear around. This means that we are in the zone of its action. And when we write to the chat, let's say I don't know the land. So I wrote to the chat, and it was written by the requested one piece of land from 0 and 0 taken. This means that we don't have anything like Earth in the vault. More precisely, not that there is anything similar, namely there is no land. Look, let's say I put a stack of diamonds in one of the chests. I want to take the diamonds. How to do it? Either just go here to the chest, or go to this index, and write a diamond. So I write a diamond, and I am given 1 diamond. By the way, it's lying here right here. You just need to stand a little closer to the index. If you want to take several items, then write a number first, let's say 10 spaces. Get 10 diamonds. Well, this is how we got a small M system. There is also such a crystal storage cube for her. I take this crystal, and also one of the crumbs, because we will have it all in this connection. Let's say, I want to put this here, and over this cube, I also put this spark storage. And in it, we will need to put what we want to track in this repository. Let's say I want to track diamonds. So I poke the PCM here, and now you can see that here we have 64 diamonds stored in this network. I'll put it in this chest. It became 128. Let's say I put the earth here. It is not displayed here in any way. We can just take it like this again, poke the PCM here, and shows that there is 1 land in the network in these chests. Well, in general, this cube is not needed for anything else. Then there is the storage funnel. I take it. For work you will definitely need a storage spark, a lever, a frame, an object that you want to get, and a chest is also possible. The funnel should be placed somewhere on a hill, let's say like this, 2 blocks from the ground. Next, we will put a spark over it as a storage. We also do not forget about the lever, because we will have it active only from the stone signal. And now let's figure out what we should do at all. In theory, she will generally take out items and just drop them down, or if there is a chest at the bottom, then she will immediately drop into the chest. Even here, if we have a distance, it will still drop into the chest. And in order to choose what will drop, we will need a frame, and also the object itself that we want to drop. In our case, I will make an iron ingot here. I'm putting the whole thing in our vault. It's all connected with us. Let's not do that. Here the connections are established, and I press the lever. We look at something happened here, and immediately an iron ingot moved here. If I break the chest, and I press the lever, then it will just fall from above for some reason, by the way, although it should be from the bottom at all. At least in previous versions, it was from the bottom, now it's just possible that it was changed somehow. Next comes the storage interceptor. I take it, I will also take the spark of the storage. I will definitely need a frame, an object that we will read, and a redstone signal to show how the whole thing works. Let's say I want to put this thing right here, a spark above it, and what will it do? She will read the item that we first indicate to her, and that we will pick up while we are writing something in the chat here. Let's say now, I want to make gold here by placing gold. I also put a gold bar on the frame here. And here let's just hold the signal ration, so that you can see something. That's so great. I entered the index field, and I am now writing a gold bar. It is a gold ingot, otherwise we just won't get anything. Look, I wrote a gold ingot, and it is given to me. But when we don't have a gold bar here, I write a gold bar again, then we have a signal issued here. This means that we simply do not have gold, and perhaps some mechanism will be activated that will supply gold to our entire storage. Well, or something like that. And the last block for this storage is called the storage extractor. We will have it placed close to this block. This is called a storage interceptor. Then, we will put a comparator ration to it, and take redstone here. And now let's see how this whole thing will work. Here it would be necessary like this. Let's break everything down here. We will have it working for gold right now, because this interceptor works for gold. Look, let's say I'm going to write a gold bar now, and here we should have a signal right now. Here you can see we have a single one. If I make the next one now, let's put it here in gold, and look further. Let's say I want to order 64 gold for myself. I write, and now here we have a ration signal with a big signal. It sounds pretty funny, but in general, we had a single one here, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 blocks are active. Well, now I think you understand why this block was created. Next, consider these wing tiaras. There are a lot of types of them, but they just differ in textures. There are even wings without wings, and there are phoenix wings, let's say. Wings for mega ultra chickens and the like. Let's better take some immediately with textures. Let's say the wings of a mega ultra chicken. Again, it fits right here on our head. It's our head, isn't it? Yes, it's a head. And look what we have. We are getting wings like this. And now if I go out to game mod 0 now, you can see I have these really wings. I can just fly now. Look just like in the creative. That is very, very convenient. Naturally, it all wastes mana. And look, we have these 3 functions. If I click on the control now, then I will make such a big leap. And we do them somewhere every 3 seconds, probably. Here's 1, 2, or even 2.5 times somewhere. And for a second jerk, we will need to stop running. That is, look here, I'm doing a jerk. Now stop running, and I can do a jerk again. Also, look, if we fall like this, and click on the shifter, then we will soar. And if we just fall, then we will never break, because we are wearing winged tiaras. Well, in general, these are all their functions. The flight is really not endless here, because he will need to recharge. As you can see, right now my HP has even flown away, because our wings have disappeared, but they come back over time. Next comes the edge hand. And watch how it works. And let's say, we have an ender chest. In it we have this turf, and also 64 diamonds. Don't you want to take Ender's trunk with you somewhere? I don't know, let's just throw it out there. Gone somewhere far away, but you have such a hand edge. You just poke your cam, and you open your own Ender chest, which is tied to the whole world. In other words, consider it just a portable Ender chest. Then, there is a very interesting device called the aggregator of life. So I took it, and imagine what you find somewhere deep, deep underground. Here is such a piggy spawner, let's say. We still don't like the UpCC as an aggregator of life, and here, it seems to have broken down like this, but in fact, it has absorbed this hotbed of monsters, in this case pigs, and now you can put it somewhere. Really look, what's the matter? This aggregator of life will be one time for us. If you install this spawner already, then this aggregator will break, and you will have to make a new one. And so with the help of it, you can safely transfer all the spawners. Then, there is another device for working with spawners. This is the breath of life. I take it, I also take a breeding ground. Here is such a distributor and mana. Now imagine such a situation. You moved a nursery to your home, but you go for a walk, and you need your farm to bring endlessly, I don't know, their experience or something. Well, let's say yes, let's say experience. And how to make the chunks swing. You put this spawner in the first place, and breathe life into it. And now it will need to be powered up. Let's say with the help of a normal mana distributor. I'm going to give him a pool of mana. I'm tying him to this breath of life. And now look, he's transferring mana, and this thing is going to be pumping chunks here all the time now. Until we get out of the game. It will be endlessly remembered here, in this case piggy. Then we move on to another very interesting devices, let's say. This is first of all Illuminizer. These illuminators are designed to make it easier for you to move, let's say, through your database. I'll put one luminizer here, and over there let's put a second one somewhere. Look, I take a staff, poke the PCM on the first one, and connect it with the second one. And now look, here we have such a whirlwind. We click on the first PCM, and thus move. But how to get back? I'm poking the PCM here, nothing works. We will need to link this particular luminizer with the first one, and in this way they will be connected with each other like this. There will be such a DNA type even probably. And look at the Turtic here PCM, I can move there and it brings me back. So that's endless. How do I get down from here? Just click on the shift, and now you stop flying. We can go back there again like this, and in general, it is very convenient to actually move like this. We can even go up there somewhere. The next Illuminizer is a detector. When we fly through it, it will give us a signal ration. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to tie them both up, that is, this one, and then, just yes, I'm starting to fly. Here, we have a ration signal when we touch it, and it also gives a signal when we touch it. I think you will find a use for them. Then, the switching Illuminizer. Here, I put the first, the second, and connect them both. Great, now let's give a signal to this ration, and sit on the first one. Here I am flying, and for some reason they stopped flying. Now I press the lever here, and now I can even fly back and endlessly like this. Then, we press the lever again, so I pressed it, and now I'm fine with it automatically. In short, when we give him a signal ration, then we will not fly back, and just knock him out. And the last luminizer is a fork luminizer. With this illuminizer, you can organize entire branches such as networks of paths. See how it works. I'll put the first one, then here's the second one, and a branching to it. That's so for example, here's one side, two side, and also three sides. Over this here, I will put a lively torch. And now watch what happens. It will blow in that direction. That is, it will lead in the direction where this animated torch looks. Here, we can put some kind of hourglass on top, so that they turn everything around alternately here. That is, look. Now we will be directed there. Then we will be directed there, and over there. And we can immediately link this to this intersection. Then a whirlwind appears, and now we can fly along it, and turn left. Now I change the direction at this height with a torch, sit down again here, and fly now just forward. Well, based on this, you can make your own ways. Next comes the luminizer launcher. This platform is designed to move not only us, but also any animals. Let's say look, I'll put two ordinary luminizers like this, then here's the launcher. Let me tie these up, then I'll put a lever here. Then I'll remember a peasant on this platform, and quickly poke the lever. Oh no, we can't do it. But in the end, look, I was able to click there, and quickly this peasant went over there. This will work once. Let's shove a little resident here, and press op, and here he moves. In general, it's quite a convenient thing. Then, there is a container with a red thread. I'll take it, I'll also take the chest, funnel, and any items. I will put this container with a red thread, and it looks like this. He has such a front, where the red dot is. This means that here we can put a chest in his way somewhere, and here you can see such frequencies. If I take the staff, I don't know, can you see it now? No, but I think it's already visible now. There are some kind of twists or something, I don't know, sinusoids, if you look at it from this side. Although now it's probably not visible at all. But it's okay, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that we have a connection. Now here, we are putting a funnel, and a funnel on top, and just feeding iron ingots. They flow away somewhere. Where they do not flow away, they flow immediately into the chest. In other words, this is remote access to the chest. Here we can even put up any wall, and still these frequencies will break through the wall and objects will be transmitted here. In short, a very interesting thing. Then, there is such a distributor with a red thread. It is being crafted in almost the same way, and the functionality is also similar. But look now what will happen. Here I will put a distributor in his way, and it will also be possible for him to pass the lever here. And now listen carefully. Here we have a connection again established. I poke the lever, and this distributor also works. That is, the ration signal is transmitted to him. I put iron ingots there now, I press the lever, and they spit out perfectly. And we can also transmit to it with the help of funnels. Look up, here are the iron ingots, and they all go into it. Again, here we can build a wall, even a double one, and still it will work for us, and spit everything out perfectly. Then, there is such a pollinator with a red thread. It works almost the same way, only it will provide us with remote access to seeds by any, that is, a sprout. I'll put it here. Here we have the same frequency again, and just PCM bone meal on it. And so we could see now that we have grown a sprout literally somehow. I don't understand how, but in fact, we just fertilized it with bone meal, as it were, but through remote access. Then, a comparator with a red thread. This is again a similar thing. It gives remote access only to the chest, and it will, as it were, relay everything that is in the chest. For the comparator that we will put here, that is, here we have a double signal being issued. For how long now? We can remove something there, but I won't do it. And then there will be a single signal here. In general, again, remote access is only for the comparator. And finally, the last block is an interceptor with a red thread. I'll leave it in front of the trunk. Let me put a lantern right here. And now I open the chest, and this flashlight lights up for a very short time, but this may be enough to activate some kind of trap. Because, for example, a person can understand that this chest is a trap, and when it is read by such an interceptor with a red thread, he will not understand anything at all, opens it, and for some reason, everything was activated anyway. Because this interceptor with a red thread could read it through the blocks. Then there is the unshakable ivy. Let's take it, and what is it for? It is needed in order to tie it to our items, very expensive, or even to everyone, and thus they will not fall out from us when we die. I tied everything up here. By the way, we can bind. No, you can't tie him to yourself. Now let me kill myself. Look how everything would fall out, but in fact, I am reborn, and my items are with me. And now, if I die again, all the items will drop out. They require binding again. Then there is a sword, called the Disembodied Carver. This sword will deal only 6 damage, has a speed of as much as 275. That's a lot, but look what the joke is. This sword is needed to kill Enderman, because 1 blow, 2, and he died. 20 units are applied to them. That's a lot actually. True, only such damage is inflicted by the Enderman, but still, it's also very cool, and his attack speed is great. But by the way, it will break down very quickly, and will not be repaired by fraud. The next sword is the Star Sword. I take it, and also take creepers as test subjects. And let's say a couple of things, and let's just hit like this from afar. Look, we create such a ray that deals 10 damage to them. Literally just like this blade. Only this blade creates such a ray from us, and here literally some stars are falling. But what's more funny, we can hit right up close. Let's hit this creeper now, and more finishing damage comes from above, although the creeper dodged us. Come on and, no, now he doesn't come across either. In short, he just dodges us. But the very fact that we can deal double damage is with a Star Sword, with all the damage itself, and plus a star can fall, and cause about 10 damage. And the last sword is the Thunder Sword. I take him, I take creepers, and I make a crowd out of them, because we will have him hitting just a huge area. Look, we have all the creepers here lined up. There should actually be such electro effectors here, like a discharge in front of them. They slip through here, but for some reason, I just can't see them. But in fact, this is how it works. Next, consider the observer block. This is actually a very interesting thing, because it will give a walkie-talkie signal when we look at it. Here I am looking now, and she gives a walkie-talkie signal. Stops watching, stops giving the ration signal. Now I fly away, and look like this, and redstone gives the signal again. And so it will work up to 64 blocks. That is, look again, I'm flying away, again it gives a signal. So we can fly far, far away, look somewhere to the point, and let's say we have such gates open, with the help of another command. In short, a very interesting thing. I think that you will definitely find where to use it. Or by the way, here's another cool idea. You can make this type of person, put these observers instead of his eyes, and you will need to look immediately into 2 eyes. That is, you will also need a friend, and then some door will open, let's say. And the last block from this section is a power relay. I don't know why, but it just doesn't work for me here. See how it should work in theory. I'll put it on a power relay. Let's say there are oak boards here. I'll tie this power relay to these boards, just press the PCM here and the PCM here. All communication is established. Now I'm going to leave any piston here. Sticky is not sticky. It doesn't matter, the stickiness won't work on it anyway, because it's so abnormal here. Now I'm giving the ration a signal here, and for some reason, only it moves, although this block should also move. Most likely it's just a tank on this version, because before that on 1.12.2, everything worked fine for me. I also have lenses here. When I tested them, the power relay did not work. But so it's actually a very cool block. Well, there was a potato with you. Be sure to subscribe, like, write comments, and also click on the bell so as not to miss new videos. Good luck to everyone, and bye to everyone.